coronavirus outbreak continues to impact public services, businesses, and historic events across the world, country, and state.
Today, IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced the greatest spectacle in racing is postponed due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
What a crazy time. These times are uncertain. They're difficult, and being honest, they're scary. But if we're not careful, this uncertainty could tear us apart, which would be a shame. Because when you think about it, we've never been more united. This has affected all of us, and there is one path out of here, together.
The one thing I've heard Roger Penske say from the very beginning, the most important thing we can do is make sure that we run the Indianapolis 500 in 2020. That's all we've heard from that moment on. There was never, ever any conversation about cancellation.
It's easy to look back now to happier times, to more certain times, when socializing wasn't defined by distance, and our masks weren't so easy to see. But plans change, and we adapt. That's how this works. We're not running from this. We're chasing a solution, sprinting towards an answer, pushing ourselves forward. Because how we react in moments like these is what defines us. We will be back, and you'll be with us to celebrate. I know a place.
How do you build an empire? You don't start with glass and steel and concrete. You start with a single brick. Laid side by side together, they become something much bigger. These bricks are a part of history. The people who set them into the earth were building more than just a racetrack. They were building a legacy. They were building memories. They were building dreams. As decades passed, a kingdom rose around this 2.5-mile ribbon of asphalt. It became an international icon. Lives were made here, and lives were lost here, in a pursuit of eternal glory. No one has to say why this place is special. It just is. And though over the years the pavement between these walls has been paved time and time again, there is still a stretch of bricks by the finish line to remind us all that great things come from humble beginnings.
No one has to say why this place is special. It just is. The biggest race at the biggest place. A career-defining moment in the sim or in the real world. The month of May is the time for Indianapolis, but it'll be today, April 11th, 2021, for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series Catalyst 317 Triple Crown Indianapolis 500. Today we'll crown a winner after 200 laps around the Brickyard. Kyle Heyer and Finian DeCuna joining you tonight for the next round of the season. Finian, this is the biggest one of all, the Indianapolis 500, 200 laps, 500 miles to crown a winner, and this is not just any winner. This is double points. This is the big race, the one that everybody wants to win. Everyone's fine with having a terrible rest of the season if they can win today. And as we get prepared for our race this afternoon, of course, we're going to have our field already lined up by qualifying that happened earlier in the week. And on pole, we'll go over the entire starting lineup here on the pace laps. But Finian, Oval Kit, 200 laps worth of racing. Your thoughts on how this is going to go today?
It's going to be absolutely awesome to watch these guys just flying around this track, as you mentioned. And I'm not going to just be going 200 miles an hour on the track. It's going to be 230, probably even faster than that, and up near 240 if these guys playing with inches. Been watching a bit of practice. Guys have been able to follow each other pretty close, so it's definitely going to be some exciting racing, especially on the starts and the restarts of this event.
And Kyle Heyer with Finian DeCuna joining you again tonight on a beautiful day here at the virtual representation of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 116-degree track temp, though. Pretty toasty out there, Finian. A lap around Indianapolis. It's 2.5 miles. It doesn't have a whole lot of banking, but it's one of the fastest racetracks in the world. The largest spectator venue on the planet. It holds up to 300,000 people on any given race day. Of course, last year didn't happen because of the pandemic, but about ready to kick off the month of May in the real world, beginning about now. But for us tonight, this is the big one for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series, brought to you by Catalyst 317. Thanks to their support for helping us this season. There's a look at all four corners. It used to be paved entirely of bricks. The track was originally conceived to be over 3.5 miles long. It was downsized and downscaled to fit on the property that was purchased just outside of Indianapolis. Beautiful, beautiful racetrack and an amazing day. Down to the racetrack, time to start our lineup process and get the field ready to go racing. Finian, this is going to be the longest race of the season. It's double points. Everything's on the line. So what is going through your head these first couple moments? I mean, last year we had a bunch of crashes right from the get-go. So is it just about conserving your car, or is it being aggressive and getting to the front early?
I think it's definitely going to be about conserving your car, because we talked about this is the longest race of the season by a long shot. We typically run around maybe quarter to half distance races in this series. It's kind of the sweet spot for how long the races usually play out compared to a real life race in the IndyCar series. But we're running a full 200 lap distance, 500 miles. You have a lot of time to work with, and even if you're starting all the way back 33rd, you is looking at Matt Hollova, you still have enough time to just plan your race out, play the strategy game right, and get yourself to the front of the field.
Here's a look at your starting lineup on the left-hand side of the screen. On row number 1, it's going to be Philip Kraus, the number 19, alongside Wilson Nito, who has some great starts this season, but not so great finishes, looking to go and win his 500 here today. Andreas Eich, third in the points, third so many times this season. He starts third here tonight. How fitting for the 76. Andrew Wood will line up alongside him in 4th. Then Jason Brophy, Krista Merritt sharing row number 3. Kinsella and Blocker sharing row number 4 with Henry Bennett, Daniel Ziegers in 9th and 10th. Ray Kingsbury, Chris Stouffer starting back in row number 6 and the number 25 and number 13 respectively. Then Matt Pavelski, recent race winner. AJ Burton starts alongside him. Adam Crane and Matt Kingsbury. Been a long day for Adam Crane. He just came off the race in Canada Endurance Series. He ran an hour worth of racing at the Nürburgring, now going for victory at Indianapolis. Behind them is Joe Branch, Chris Cahoe in 17th and 18th, Tony Schowen, Riley Thompson, Dakota DiCienzo, Robert Malechka, Mike Kitchell, Dan Ench, row number 12, then Downing, Adams, Musselman, Watkins, all the way back to 28th. Then Brian Carey, Greenfield, Doc, David Adams, and Matt Hollova rounding out the rest of the field. The keys to the race tonight, Finian, the big ones. It's the longest race of the season. It's the biggest deal. And this is a career-defining race, not only in the real world, but also here for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. This is a big one. This is so important, and it's about to kick off.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be the 6th edition of this race. Luckily, we were able to cover the 5th edition last year. It was an awesome race to watch. Looking forward to see what these drivers can bring forth this year to the table as we're just about to go green.
We have 33 drivers all going for victory. Last year, we had a big crash on the opening couple laps. Then it cleaned up and pretty much went green from there on out. We'll see if it'll look a little bit different this year. Philip Kraus on the front row, the reigning champion of this series, is in command. The pace car is going to pull off its 200 laps. 500 miles here at Indianapolis in the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Kokomo, Indiana, and the Catalyst 317 Indy 500 is green. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Indianapolis. Philip Kraus leads the way down to turn number 1. Nito, Andreas Eich, Wood, Brophy, and Demerit, the top 5 heading through turn 1. Speeds well over 225 miles an hour, climbing north of 230 on the straightaways. Andreas Eich leads the first lap of the night. Lap 2 of 200 now underway, and Kraus goes back to the race lead and through turn number 1. Wilson Nito drops to 3rd. There's Brophy in the bright yellow 88 down in 4th here. Finney already that 76. Super strong from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, we're already starting to see these guys go back and forth with the slingshot on each other. We're going to see a lot of this in the initial part of the race when the tires are nice and fresh, have the most grip. They're going to be taking a beating though over the next few laps. So you got to be careful as a driver. You know, when you're trying to make these moves, especially working the corners, mainly turns 1 and 2. You got to be careful. Just the car sliding up out of the corner. It's really just a matter of just feeling this car in the draft. This is probably the first time a lot of these guys have been experiencing the car with in behind so many other cars. It's a very big difference being behind 1 to 2 cars than 5 to 10. And I think a lot of these guys may be experiencing it for the first time, and now it's just a matter of a big learning experience as everyone's pretty much single file, just trying to feel out the car.
Look at the speeds climbing on board with Andreas Eich. 224 miles an hour, 226, 227. 227 miles an hour and passing for the race lead. There he goes down into turn number 3, takes it back from Philip Kraus, Nito, Brophy, Demerit, the rest of the top 5. And things happen very quickly at 220 miles an hour, and so far so good. We've already made it farther than last year. The difference last year, Finian, no new damage model, no new tire model. Both of those things have changed since we were here last.
Yeah, especially the new tire model. It makes it a lot harder to make these passes work. It's a lot more realistic in that way. It could be argued with the old tire model. It was a lot easier to get the passes done, get the slingshot run side by side. It was a lot of these guys running much more in a pack. Now we're starting to see a little bit more struggle, but you still can't make the passes done if you got a fast enough car. Is that Evan Adams with wing damage already?
He's slipping back. I don't know if he's got any damage or not. Trying to take a look at it. I don't see anything.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw part of his wing missing, but yeah, he is starting to drop back here. That might be a strategy. Might just be him just trying to settle out of things, just find a nice little group to put his car in, just kind of ride.
Yeah, one of the big changes with this new damage model is once you crash, you're pretty much done. There's really no coming back from it. In the past, you might have been able to repair the car, or at least make it drivable. Not going to happen tonight, Vinny. Once you crash, you're going to be out and done for the evening. So, at 220 miles an hour, even the slightest mistake can turn into a catastrophic collision and end your chances. Think about how much work goes into this race. So many hours of testing and tuning and making it perfect. These are open setup races in the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. It means that these drivers and teams spend countless hours perfecting their setups, especially so for qualifying. And Philip Kraus in that 19, remember, he switched teams over to the Team Talent Racing team, and it has worked out very well for his qualifying pace and sat on pole here at Indy. That is a power move for sure. And now drag racing Andreas Eich into turn 1.
Just going to take a look at the inside, get clear of Eich. And Eich, I'm sure he definitely, he joked about him. He's finished 3rd a lot of times this season, started this race in 3rd. But I'm sure he's going to be really disappointed if he ends up finishing in 3rd for such a big event like this, especially with the looks of it looking like his car is strong, at least very early on.
And I'm noticing a lot of flip-flopping on the straightaways here, Finney, and you mentioned that it seemed like it was pretty easy for drivers to follow each other in line, which hasn't been the easiest thing in the past, especially with this Dallara IR18. It definitely doesn't have as much downforce as the DW12 the previous chassis had, and that means that you've had to fight pretty hard to gain any sort of downforce or traction in behind other cars, but you see that so far the field has been pretty tight. Again, trading for the lead, Kraus and Eich, and Wilson Nito climbing back into the mix again.
Yeah, you're not going to really get these big runs. If you're going to get a run, you have to work for it. You have to really get a decent run out of the previous corner, and that's going to determine if you can slingshot by down this straightaway. As you see also in behind Adam Blocker, another driver moving out. He's been moving up. I believe started in 9th. He's already making the pass now for 5th place on Demerit, who lets him on by.
And Adam Blocker has had a really successful season so far. Maybe not as early as we would have expected. He's missed 2 races. He's second in the points, only 2 back from Andreas Eick. Eick again leading the points and leading the race as it stands. So that Adam Blocker car has been getting stronger and stronger, even with those 2 missed races, is only 2 points away from climbing on top of the standings, which is super dangerous nearing the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. You know, this is our big race. This is the biggest race of the season, hands down. But also these guys, a lot of them are fighting for a championship, and it's fairly close. It's a fairly close battle in that championship. So I'm curious to see how much these guys are going to try to push, if at all. Because again, we mentioned it's double points. If you wreck out, you're losing out on double of a rate, 2 races worth of points if you finish near the back of a 33 strong field. So that's definitely something you want to avoid if possible, as it looks like Jason Brophy making a pass for third, or trying to at least.
Yeah, he popped out of line for a moment and tucked back in, and that's going to bring Adam Blocker right to the tailpipes. Seems like Blocker's got a little bit better race pace maybe than the qualifying that he had. Remember, they're running very different setups than they would have run during qualifying, where you're all trimmed out and going for absolute maximum speed. But you don't build any drivability into those cars, Finney. You need a little bit of downforce, a little bit of drivability to make moves here. You can't just trim the car out with the lowest downforce you can. You will crash, and no one's done that so far. So obviously they've switched things up.
Yeah, there's really 2 ways you can kind of build a car here. You can build a car to be a little bit better out open and clean air for later in the race once you start getting some runs and when the car is by itself. Or you can try, more likely what most of the people are going to do is to make the car handle better in behind dirty air, and especially once the tires wear out. And that's definitely going to be something to watch the first pit stop. It's really who's going to be better at that point in the run, because then that's when the tires are going to start begging for grip, and you're going to need to hope that you set up the car right, that you didn't abuse the tires enough, you can rely on enough aero to get the car to work.
Keeping an eye on some of the drivers a little bit deeper in the field here. Joe Branch in the number 28 car. He started this race in 17th. He has gone effectively nowhere. He's 10th in the point standings, 100 back from Andreas Eick. He can make some pretty big gains. There's a handful of drivers within 20 or 30 points in front of him in the standings, so if he has a good night tonight, he could gain a whole bunch. So we go back up to the front, because Wilson Nito has been lingering in third, and he's going to go for second here. They're all going to pop out 3 wide for the lead here at Indianapolis.
This is the first time we're seeing some 3-wide action. We're going to see Eick dive out on the top lane. You cannot run the top. It's paved up there, but it's very much not usable. We're pretty much been running the bottom 2 lanes, and even the middle lane there. You're seeing Philip Kraus run at the moment, still trying to work that outside lane, get a little bit of a run, but they're pretty much neck and neck as he starts to stall out.
I don't know if we saw how close that was to absolutely demolishing the top 3 runners here. They went 3 wide, and if Eick didn't back out, they were going to crash, and it was a smart move, a conservatory move for Andreas Eick to back out of that and let Nito and Kraus have it. Hey, if you want it this early in the race, by all means take it. I don't want to crash my car this soon. Here's what 220 miles an hour looks like from the yard of bricks. That is absolutely insane. By the camera as Kraus gives way to Nito, and Wilson Nito takes the top spot. Think of how many times he started on pole this season just to be crashed out or fall down the order. He has not had the year that he has deserved, and so far, he's looking really racy up at the front.
Yeah, again, the big thing is if he's going to be able to keep it. I mean, so far so good. You haven't really seen, again, how this car's handling up in traffic. And I think that could be a determining factor. If stuff does go right, puts him back there. But so far, up in front with some cleaner air, this car looks pretty strong. And you got Blocker, he's trying to get back up to the top, got up to 4th, but Brophy passed him back and put him back into 5th place again.
Pretty much single file from the lead on back, but the battle is still at the front and will remain there, it looks like, for the time being. 13 laps in, this race is about 2 hours remaining in it, 2 hours and 8 minutes. It is a long one. This is a marathon. How tiring is this emotionally and mentally, Finian, to be trading spots like this back and forth? Would you rather just get in line and click off laps?
I think that's really the big reason we're seeing majority of the field is starting to run single file there. For a lot of them, it's not really worth pushing yourself too much unless you start to lose time to the leaders up front. They want to have an overtake or two, but to be constantly switching back and forth side by side in these corners, monitoring where the other cars are around you and the guys getting runs in behind you, it can be mentally taxing over the course of 200 laps. So we might see some of these guys, maybe they might decide to drop a little bit further back, at least out of the lead, the front 2. As seeing Eick, he was up in top, now he's kind of chilling in 3rd place, not really making any moves happen.
And he's had an immense year. Again, we mentioned that he's leading the point standings. Well, he's been doing this by just being so incredibly consistent. He's only had a couple finishes, a couple mulligans. The rest of the year, it's been 3rds and 4ths and 2nds, and he's had an amazing season. And he's just got to keep doing that. He doesn't need to win every single race. He just needs to continue to do what he's doing, finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. That'll get you a championship. You can win 5 times in a season, but if your other 5 finishes are 32nd and 25th, you're not going to win the championship.
Yeah, he's the only driver other than Adam Blocker to finish five times in the top 10 and 6 times. 5 times in the top 5 and 6 times in the top 10 out of the 8 starts he's had. So that just shows you how consistent he has been, and again, that's why he's the points leader. Well, he's got Adam Blocker and Philip Krause in the points, closing up on him, and also closing up to him on the track with Philip Krause right ahead of him.
I don't think we've really seen what car is dominant, but these front two look mighty, mighty good. I think Ike is being a little bit conservative, but these front two, and Philip Krause especially, looks incredibly strong. Again, reigning champion on the season, and comes into the night with 2 wins this season alone. That's a high if you exclude Christopher Demerit. So Philip Krause, I'd say, would be a favorite to win this race, but Nito, again, with his inability to actually finish out on his pace this season, I think he's the hungriest of anybody up here in the top 5. Jason Brophy in 4th, quietly sitting and waiting in the wings here.
Yeah, he's also another driver that's kind of hanging out. Isn't really making too much happen at the moment. Has found a nice place, because I mean, really, you can't go much further than the top 3. So I think he's just trying to manage his tires, manage the car over the course of the run, kind of feel how things are going to work out, and especially his competition in behind him. Speaking of which, side by side,
John Downing and Tanner Watkins trading spots. That's for 25th. We should note that the only driver that is returning in this race that has an Indy 500 victory in their career is Andrew Kinsella, running 8th right now. He's the only driver in this field that has ever won an Indy 500, and he's going to try to do it again tonight. Back up at the front, though, it's hard to look away as they continue to scrap and trade spots. But Adam Crane, I mentioned, just came off of the Race Sim Canada Endurance Series race, running a Corvette C8R at the Nürburgring. This is going to be a shock to jump from that car into this, and especially going from road racing to oval. That just shows the ability for Adam Crane to pivot and do something different entirely. Now remember also that Adam Crane has a victory on the season. That was back at Barber in the 2nd round.
Yeah, doing pretty well in this race. Starting 15th up into 14th, sorry. So running pretty well at the moment. Is kind of, again, another driver just settling into line, especially for him too. Now I think these first few laps are probably going to be spent just adjusting yourself, getting yourself into another rhythm. Again, going from driving a Corvette around the Nürburgring to flying at 230 miles an hour here in Indianapolis at an Indy car. It's a big change. So I think it's just a matter of just feeling, again, for him, just seeing how the car is handling and getting used to a completely different machine. So look at Riley Thompson trying to hold up one driver in behind him.
That's Dakota DiCienzo in the 43 right behind him. DiCienzo's going to go the long way around. No grip up there, though. Look out. That was tight to the fence in turns 3 and 4. But Riley Thompson, again, the youngster, joining the season, and right now has not had the best of seasons so far, but he's constantly getting better. I don't think he's going to have a legitimate chance to win this race today on raw pace, but he is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the mid-pack today, and always learning, and come back next season. I think Riley Thompson has got to be a favorite.
Yeah, a lot of times when you join a new league, especially as competitive as a one league as this is, there's some really, really top-class drivers in this series. You're up against some of the best on the service, so there is a big learning curve to get adjusted, especially with the open setups too, dealing with that, and finding yourself, finding a way to compete with these guys. So it definitely is probably going to take a season for them to learn, but even as a learning season, he's done very well, as Adam Blocker looked to make another pass on Jason Brophy.
Yeah, he seems fairly content sitting behind Brophy right now, but at the same time, you see that gap beginning to expand from Brophy up to Ike. It's about a half a second difference. And maybe that's concerning for Blocker, that they are losing touch with that front 3 pack. And a little bit of draft involved here today to keep yourself in the group. And Dan Ench at the back of the field has lost the draft, 3.2 seconds back from Trevor Greenfield in 30 seconds. So Dan Ench already fallen off the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, there's nothing worse really than just kind of riding around by yourself with literally no one around you, and you know you're losing time. It's very frustrating as a driver, because there's nothing really you can do other than hope that a caution comes out.
At the line, couldn't tell. I think Nito had it by a nose. Andrew Wood and Andrew Kinsella, this is side by side for 7th place. And just behind them, Matt Pavelski in the 75. Think about the season he has had, and trying to improve it and have another decent night tonight. He was also a recent winner back at Chicagoland a few weeks ago, and it was only by a nose. And he runs 9th tonight. He comes into the 9th in the point standings as well.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that is not just the fact that he's 9th in the points, but also the fact he's only had 5 starts. We've had 8 starts coming to this event, so he's 3 races behind everyone in the field, and is still running 9th in the points, which is very impressive. I mean, it's similar to Walker being only missing 2 races and being up into second. So Pavelski, he's been doing pretty well. And there's also the races he's finished well. He's finished very well. But he does have a few retirements kind of holding him back just a little bit, but has been performing nonetheless really good and also running solid in this race.
Here is Matt Hollaba, driver that brought up the caboose at the tail of the field to start this race, up 4 spots already into 33rd. Now this is a driver that we must keep an eye on because he definitely did not qualify where he's going to finish this race. I'll tell you, it is a shocker to me that he started that far back. He is going to climb forward, and I would bet that he's a top 10 driver. I would bet that he has a chance for the win by the end of today. But how you get up there, Finian, it's going to be hard. He's already 11.5 seconds back from the race lead, so some strategy perhaps if we ever get a caution.
Yeah, he's going to definitely need to rely on a lot of strategy to get himself back up in the order. He's not going to get it back just purely on raw pace. Just too many cars to pass, and with the way the field's going to shuffle about when the pit stops happen, he's definitely going to probably need a caution to kind of reset everything, bring them back together as he tries to leapfrog some positions. And speaking of leapfrogging, back up to the lead.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at how much they're doing this, but it seems like they're pretty content. And this is not Nito and Kraus passing with the expectation of keeping the lead. They're just doing this because it's easier to do this than it is to sit in behind and lift throttle all day long. So they seem to be pretty content doing what they're doing. Andreas Eich is fine riding in third, and it's still 3/10 back to Jason Brophy, and Adam Blocker is also settled in the line. And at this point, it's just about clicking off laps and getting yourself closer to the end of this race where you can claim the victory. They only give you the checkered flag after you finish lap 200.
I've been honestly very surprised. I was just looking at Andrew Wood getting past Kinsella, and he got past on the outside lane. And I can't remember and you can see even Wood there surprisingly holds the lane very well. I can't remember at any time in iRacing when we've been able to, with the IndyCar at least, been able to hold and make a run and even defend in that outside lane. We saw just there with Wood holding off Pavelski. I'm kind of amazed of how well that lane's been able to hold. Typically, it's once a car gets to the inside lane, they're more or less going to get that corner, as you see Greenfield down on pit lane, 1 lap down.
It came down for service, and this is likely a scheduled stop. He will return to the racetrack, so this might kick off our first round of pit stops potentially. It's a little bit early, maybe. I would have thought everyone would come in a bigger pack together, but Greenfield trying to pull an undercut maybe. You're not losing, I mean, we're not running any slower. These tires are not going to fall off in terms of lap time. They're going to fall off in terms of how they feel though.
Yeah, they definitely are, and it is a bit surprising to see him coming down pit lane because these guys can go around 30 laps, if I'm not mistaken, on a tank of gas, a little bit more, a little bit less. So yeah, it was a bit of an early pit stop, and the thing is, when you come in like that by yourself, you really put yourself at risk of losing a lot of time not being in the draft. We see John Downing, he's also making an attempt to come down, so I'm not sure this is a strategy call. Maybe they feel they can make up some time more in clean air. I'll be surprised if they're able to do so, but we'll see if it works out for both these guys going with some orthodox strategies.
Well, I do know that the fuel consumption of these cars can vary super widely depending on if you're in the draft or if you're not. Now, for Trevor Greenfield, he wasn't really in the draft as tightly as some of the guys in the front pack are, so maybe they're just burning up a lot more fuel. I mean, I think we've seen anywhere from 25 to 33 laps be the pit window depending on where you are in that draft pack. So I think the guys in the front here will probably pit in the next 2 to 3, but we haven't seen a lot more drivers come down, and they're just, again, with a race this long, you're just trying to stretch it as long as you can go, because if you pit early, that's going to start stacking up, and you're going to have to make an extra pit stop.
Yeah, you keep consistently pitting early as well. You can end up being a full pit stop behind or so at some point if you keep cutting it by too much. And even so, if you pit a lot early, you might find yourself, if caution comes out, you're way behind and you're a lap down. And it's very hard to get back with the Indy cars. So that's it's kind of putting yourself in a box. Again, we'll see if that does play out for them and see these guys continue to swap for the lead. I am very looking forward to the fact that not only have these guys been doing this the entire run so far, but also everyone else is still very close together, all things considered.
Yeah, we also haven't seen, and I don't want to jinx this now as Riley Thompson pushes up big time on DiCienzo, who pounds the fence. I was just about to say that we hadn't seen anybody hit anything or anybody yet, and of course DiCienzo proves me wrong there, but just a slight touch there. Remember last year's 500, how it started off with so much attrition. It looks like this year things are going a little smoother.
Yeah, again, might be easier words about a lap or two knowing the way things go at SimTV, but so far, yeah, it's been a very clean race. Everyone respecting each other a lot. You hope to see that continue out for the rest of the race, but this is a type of car and a type of series that requires a lot of give and take, and it's nice to see the drivers kind of acknowledge that and just kind of run this race out and just kind of play it lap by lap. As you see Blockers being much trying to make a pass on Brophy yet again, but that 88's been able to keep him in line.
Yeah, Brophy is has held off Adam Blocker pretty well. And I think the interesting thing is when we see a caution, because we likely will see a caution at some point, is that going to trigger the chaos that we saw in years past? As I think Philip Kraus, yes, he's going to hit pit lane from the race lead.
Actually, no one else, at least from the top 15 or so, even top 20, as you see more cars race out of turn 4, have come into pit lane. So, I mean, again, he has been up in the front most, so you kind of expect him to come first. But I think now we'll definitely start to see majority of the field come down within the next 3 to 5 laps.
So Wilson Nito leads the way in that number 80. He's led 18 of the 29 laps that we've completed. Andreas Eich is in second. He has led 8 laps. Jason Brophy has led none, but is only a couple tenths of a second back, and he's peeling off pretty low here. Is he about to hit pit lane? No, he's going to stay out. Nito jumps on the binders. He's going to come down, though. Oh, locked it up just a touch, but got down to pit speed. Do not get yourself a penalty, Finian. This field is far too good. If you get a penalty, your night's pretty much over.
Especially considering the fact, too, again, we've run very green, which I think is telling me that we're probably going to have, at the very least, we may not have a whole lot of cautions, but we definitely will have quite a few green flag runs. So, and if you do get a penalty, it's going to hurt you a lot. You're going to have to wait a while, or potentially not at all, for a caution to come out, and you're going to be very behind, as mentioned, considering how tight the field is. Speaking of which, now we're starting to see Blocker, he's picking his time to strike, trying to catch back up, and even Demerit, too. He's kicked it into high gear, trying to make up some time. You see some more drivers peel onto pit lane. That's Ike and Wood.
And you could add, I think, a bunch of others. It's going to be a very busy place on pit lane here in a moment. I wanted to point out, though, one driver that's kind of snuck up in there. Here's a driver that's won 3 times this season. That's Christopher Demerit in the 144. But his season has sort of gone downhill. He gained a spot last week after finishing 14th at Richmond. But look at this. I'm going to read out his finishes this season, Finian. First, 29th, first, 28th, 21st, 14th. If he's not winning, he's crashing. Demerit's giving it all he's got, but he's not going to take 3rd place. He's either going to win this race or he's going to go home on the record.
I was going to say he's pulling the Ricky Brobby strat, and it's arguably not the best one, at least as far as the championship is concerned. But yeah, again, really solid on the wins column, and also got a pretty strong car to boot. Saw Big Lock him down to the pit lane, and even more cars coming on down. Yeah,
that's almost the entire rest of the field. Only a handful of drivers remain on the racetrack. And so we've seen 33 laps be stretched. We're going to see 34 now with these drivers, as they're going to pit out right in front of the race leaders. There's Adam Blocker going to get a suck up here, going to poke out to the inside. I think that's the 15 car that he's going by now. That's A.J. Burton.
Yeah, and actually this is an interesting thing too, and again, this is very early to be talking about strategy, but the fact that a lot of these guys are going 33, at least completing 33, going maybe 34 laps on fuel, that potentially could cut out one pit stop from the guys that came in on lap 31, 32. So this could be pretty important over the course of the run. Again, this is assuming we're going to go green in the end, which, while I do consider kind of unlikely, is definitely looking more possible, especially now that we got an entire pit stop underway, green flag pit stop cycle underway.
So into the box for the first pit stop of the night. Oh, and Pavelski overshoots the box, has to back it up. That's going to cost him dearly on the racetrack. Demerit still out on the racetrack. He has gone the longest of anybody. He's going to go 35 laps on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, he's hypermiling, and again, that for that reason, I think he knows that if he can make it, if he can make it an extra lap here and there, and if we do go green, he's going to be sitting in the catbird seat. So he comes flying into pit lane, and that's a big thing too. And it's not just really with the open setup, but the Indy cars in general. You have fuel maps to play with to reduce your fuel consumption over the course of the run. So that's definitely something to play with. That won me an Indianapolis race last year. So it's definitely worth trying to figure out and play the game over the course of this race.
Adam Blocker leapfrogged Jason Brophy in the pit cycle, so made that pass without having to put any effort in on the racetrack. As Philip Kraus and Wilson Nito are going to cycle back to the race lead, potentially. There's Christopher Demerit leaving the box now. Bumpy pit exit.
Yeah, and I think Demerit is definitely going to lose some time here. I imagine he was, again, playing with the fuel maps and also just trying to slow down a little bit to save some gas. Actually, I guess that's to be pretty decently, so he's actually going to pull up pretty much exactly where he was.
Quick stop, only 9.4 seconds. Compare that to 10.2 for Kraus. Tucks into line in 5th in front of Brophy.
Yeah, I was actually going to say he actually did end up passing Brophy over that, so he didn't lose anything over that spot, pit stop, and gained 1 spot. So he's looking pretty good. I definitely have to keep Demerit. I think he's going to be the favorite if he can keep up the fuel mileage.
Yeah, Brophy lost 2 spots in that first cycle of the night. 35 laps complete of 200. You're watching the Catalyst 317 Triple Crown race, the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317 for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. And the top 5, top 6 all in their own breakaway. Then it's a full second back to find Andrew Kinsella, the only previous 500 race winner in the field, and Andrew Wood, Bennett, and Stouffer, the rest of the top 10. Pavelski dropped a couple spots at that mishap on pit lane. Spent 37.5 seconds in the lane versus 35.7 for the race leader.
Yeah, we got all 33 guys still kicking in, all of which on the lead lap still. However, that's looking to be changing pretty soon as Evan Adams is looking to be the first car to go a lap down. He's about a quarter of a lap away from the leaders.
Evan Adams running a little bit off pace, about 4/10 off pace from the race leaders. Blocker and Demerit. Oh, Blocker, where did he go? They're just trading spots all over the place there for a minute. Timing and scoring freaked out on me, just no touch. Nito, though, looking super strong, and I mentioned that he's had sort of a tough year. If we go back and have a look at the standings, Wilson Nito, I have to look down quite a ways. He's 25th in the standings. You know how frustrating that is? He's had only 1 top 5, and that was at Pocono. He's gotten the pole at least 3 times this season, so it's been a rough year to say the least, and I think winning the 500 will be a good way to maybe recoup some of the losses that he's had.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to be looking forward to. And he's looking like he's got one of the best cars in the field at the moment. That car's been up in the front all day long so far. Continues to make slingshot passes on Kraus, but really anyone in this top 6 looking pretty solid as well. You can see Kinsella too. He's been able to catch back up to Brophy, and a lot of these guys now starting to close back in on one another after the pit stop's concluded.
Taking a look at the track temperature, I just checked this a minute ago, and it's at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. A cloud came over and cooled it to 113. So a 7-degree swing in only a couple minutes, Finian, that's got to wreak havoc on your perception of grip around here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to give these guys a lot more grip to work with, which is something you may not be expecting, and can quite catch you off guard when you're not paying attention. And you might notice it just a little bit, the car being a little bit more grippy, and it's definitely something more beneficial for these drivers. I'm sure they don't want it to go in the opposite direction.
Adam Blocker creeping into the picture here with Christopher Demerit in tow. Blocker's looking stronger and stronger as this race goes on, and I think once he gets past the 76 car, he might start to scrap. I just don't think that there's room for 3 at the front of the field here. I think you can really only do what Kraus and Nito are doing with 2 drivers. I think as soon as you add a third, it creates too much chaos.
Oh, caution out.
And it's Matt Hollaba in the 29th place 02 car. And luckily, I don't see a lot of damage on this car. We'll get our first caution.
Yeah, from the look of it, looks like it was a self-spin. Didn't hit anything, so.
Here's a look. It's going down the back straightaway towards turn number 3. And this turns off into the corner. And just gets loose. That's a weird place to get loose. Didn't even clip the inside apex or anything.
Might have just had the car over-rotating, and especially, too, with these guys, they're playing around with the weight checker, they're playing around with the anti-roll bars. Might have just had the car just a little bit too free in the back end. Slowly comes around. Did a great job saving it. And you can see he slammed on the brakes at just the right time, locked the tires up, and had the car catch again in the air. It's a really hard thing to do, but did a great job saving it.
Yeah, I just wonder, did he damage any of the under tray on that grass, sliding over it at 180 miles an hour, but no damage on that car. Matt Hollaba is going to get to reset and go again here. So our first caution is out at lap number 41 of the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317. And here's a look at your running order on the left-hand side of the screen, and not that much has changed.
Yeah, no, really a whole lot hasn't changed for these drivers. They're just going to really get the chance to kind of bunch back up together. And this also is going to eliminate any chance of that fuel strategy playing out into Demerit's hands. It's going to kind of put everyone back on the same page. So there's going to be a big chance for these guys to reset and also really decide if they want to push harder. Because typically we see once the first caution comes out, everyone's been very nice and calm with each other. I'm not going to say all hell breaks loose, but it definitely gets a lot more antsy down on the track.
Well, we are almost at the 1/4 mark of this race. It was flying by. We have about an hour and 49 minutes remaining if we were to go green from here to the end. Our first caution at lap number 40 for a single spin for Matt Hollaba. You're watching Sim TV. Again, my name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney Nakuna tonight as Philip Kraus leads the way. He's been the dominant car, and pit road is a confusing place. I don't know if anybody knows if they want to be on it or not.
Oh, I'm actually kind of surprised that people stayed out. I mean, we did have about 10 laps of a run, 10 to 6 laps of run for some of these drivers. So interesting to see. So Brophy really the only notable driver up in front coming down, and then everyone else back from 15th is also coming down to pit lane. So about half the field coming down, half the field staying out.
A little bit of a strategy differentiator here this early in the going. I guess I'm not surprised that there was a split. I just don't know. I don't have the consciousness to know how it's going to pan out from here. I mean, it's hard to do math this far ahead, right? I mean, you can run 34 laps.
Yeah, I think
right?
For a lot of the guys that were close that came in lap 32, 33, I think they should be fine. You just throw the thing in fuel map 8. That's the map designed for running under caution. You save quite a bit of gas. And even just putting around too at this rate, you're saving a lot of gas in general. But you save even more fuel in that particular map. So I think these guys figured they should be able to save that extra fuel they may have missed out on to kind of put themselves along with everyone else. I think they figured it's just not worth coming down. I think it's also showing too, and we kind of seen this, the drivability of the tires, it's not been as bad as we've seen in previous runnings of the Indy cars here at Indianapolis. They seem to, at least the way everyone set up their car, it seems to be that these tires aren't too bad on the longer run. These guys aren't struggling to stay in behind one another, which is the big thing, and they're able to still stay in the draft. So I think that's another thing leading to these guys' decision: just stay out and just kind of run. They may lose a spot or two here and there, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be a deciding factor like we've seen in previous runnings.
You're watching the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. First caution out just a moment ago. We're going to re-rack, restack, and go again here. This is one of the racetracks that I got to visit last year working for GT World Challenge America. I got to go for the Harvest GP weekend while SRO was sharing the racetrack with IndyCar. This is one of the places that I walked into and was immediately just blown away. I'd never been to Indy before. And while it wasn't for the 500 and it was an empty grandstand, it was an unbelievable racetrack. And obviously this track in iRacing is represented pretty old, but the thing that struck me was how perfect the pavement was. I mean, it was absolutely smooth as glass, and not a single pebble was misplaced. It was truly phenomenal on a scale like that. One of my best memories from 2020, even though it was a crazy weekend. I was working also up at Grid Life at Gingerman Raceway in Michigan and had to drive down at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning to get back down for the 10 hours SRO race on Sunday. So quite the weekend for me, but super cool memory.
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself. This place has just such an atmosphere. I would imagine I've never been there. Really, that's one on my bucket list. I want to go to for at least one Indianapolis 500, well, at least one time in my life. But just the sense of scale this place has, and the aura, the atmosphere, walking in, seeing the pagoda, down the front straightaway with grandstands on either side. And as you mentioned too with the pavement as well, I can only imagine how perfect it looked with the nice black pavement. The pavement we have here is kind of old looking.
Yellow.
I think this is before they did a repave on it, but yeah, I can't imagine being there, especially too when you have the crowd of 350,000 people, which hopefully I don't think we're going to have this year. Hopefully next year they'll be able to bring that back. I'm sure the Indianapolis fans have been missing out on that for last year or two now.
Yeah, I would love to go, and I'm only about 3 hours away now, but I don't want to go until it's the real deal, and I want to wait till it's back and ready to rip at full capacity, maybe 2022 or 3. All right, pace car about to peel off. We're about to go racing again. We'll resume action at lap number 44 for the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317. It's Philip Kraus in command, Nito, Ike, Blocker, Demerit, the rest of the top 5. Green flag back in the air. Wilson Nito continuing to do the slingshot maneuver around the inside of Philip Kraus, 227 miles an hour, and takes the lead back again. I'd love to know the number of lead changes tonight. I'm sure it's in the dozens by the time we're done with this.
Yeah, these guys have been swapping back and forth every single lap. I imagine, yeah, it's definitely probably faster. Almost close to probably the amount of laps we've run here. These guys have been constantly going back and forth on one another. They have Andreas like sitting back in third as Kraus is the one that leads that lap by just a nose over Nito.
Pass for position here. That's the 91, Robert Malechka to the inside of, I believe that is Ray Kingsbury's number 25. New livery on board, kind of a Hot Wheels looking paint. As he rolls around in 16th place. Maybe a bit surprised that Kingsbury hasn't driven further forward. Right now, he's 16 after starting 11th.
Yeah, been dropping back actually. This is a bit surprising. Would expected him to kind of break inside the top 10, if not a little bit further. But yeah, he's kind of struggling at the moment. So we'll see if he can turn this around for him. Again, still very early on, so it's not the end of the world. Still running midfield, but definitely want to start making your way to the front, especially when you have the field bunched so close together. Now it's arguably the best time to gain some position. See Brophy to the inside of A.J. Burton.
Yeah, he's the highest driver on the fresh tires that he just came down and got on this most recent caution. Everyone behind him is on the fresh tires, and we're going to see if Brophy can actually pass anybody, and if a 10-lap tire difference is really worth anything. It'd be good to know for later.
Yeah, I don't think it is, considering just the sheer amount of people that decided to stay out. And what we've seen for that first one, they're being able to work pretty well with those older tires. Should maybe be able to get maybe a position or two, because it is going to be worth something, probably, but though not as much as he would have hoped. I think it's still going to be an overall wash from after running to the top 5 all race.
Henry Bennett on Andrew Wood for 7th, couldn't get the job done. Christopher Demerit all over the back of Adam Blocker for 4th, also not able to complete a pass. Nito and Philip Kraus have had no problems at all.
And as close as Blocker's been to the front as well. It's the first time he's been up inside 4th place. To see if he'll take advantage of this, maybe try to blow past Ike and company and get a lap lead. You'll see him running way out of the groove and staying out of the dirty air.
Wonder how much this track is going to get rubbered up from the inside to the outside. Again, typically you're on the inside here at Indianapolis, but if we can rubber in an upper groove, it's not going to be fast, but it might be safe in a way that you're not relying on that downforce, because you can't always rely on it following so closely. If you're tucked in behind somebody and you're at the limit on old tires, you could very easily understeer into the fence.
Yeah, well, we're definitely seeing that second lane is a lot more viable than I would have thought, or at least how much it used to be. These guys have been able to rock it and even defend, even make a few passes here and there on it as well. And as you mentioned, the more that they run on it, it's only going to get better for them as more rubber builds up there. And they've been not straying away from them. They've been using it quite a bit to again, just get out of the dirty air, stop using the tires as much as they need to try to preserve them a little bit longer.
And at the line again. Yeah, try to declare a winner off that camera shot. Kraus and Nito again. Nose to nose as they come across the line. Next time through is the 25% complete mark here, Finian, and we're going to trudge towards the halfway point at lap 100.
This race has been flying by, especially for Nito and Kraus. Have been so absorbed with each other, just been taking off the laps. They're probably going to get sick of each other, I imagine, by the end of this race.
Oh, Blocker to the inside of Ike. Peels out of line, dives down the inside. I don't think Ike saw that one coming. Kind of caught him sleeping, maybe just a touch. And Ike is going to defend well on the outside lane, so that it's not a definite pass if someone gets to your inner lane. I mean, it's not like you're just going to get put out of line and gone by. You can actually defend out there.
Yeah, that's been the biggest surprising thing coming here for this race. A lot of guys have been able to hold their own and make stuff work on that lane. On the outside of Blocky Charles trying to catch Ike napping there. Ozu gets a little bit low there into 2 and almost clipped the curbing. But yeah, you just truck to the inside, just lost too much momentum, and also the understeer of the cars ahead, just rest speed that just got outward. Had to fall back. Here comes Demerit. He's going to work on the outside.
Yeah, that was a little bit too high, though. I don't know if he meant to go that high. Managed to hang on to it. There's definitely a no-go zone. If you go above 3.5 lanes, you go off into that corner, you're not going to make it. Whoa, there's a pop out of line. Pavelski almost caught the fence down the front straightaway. And I see Jason Brophy. Now, he's about to pass his first car since the caution, and he's not able to do it. So I just don't think the tires were worth it, and I think Brophy is going to note that and will not do the same strategy later in the race if track position is what it depends on. Look at this. Malechka, Kingsbury, Thompson, and Branch all together.
Yeah, and we'll see him now trying to get a slingshot down this straightaway. He's able to use it for anything. No, he's going to decide to sit back in behind patiently.
Not so patient as Jason Brophy. He tried to go to the inside of Burton in turn 3 and kind of got the door slammed on him.
Yeah, what this is going to be interesting, though, is when these guys come down to pit stop, this is going to be about a 7-lap difference for these drivers as far as when they pit and when they're going to come in. So this is going to give a chance for Brophy to get himself back up in front for a few laps. Whether that will be worth anything, we'll have to see. Because again, these are the guys up in front. Everyone from 13th will have to pit before the rest of the field does.
David Adams is a little slow through turns 1 and 2, down in 22nd spot. Adam Dock in the 99 cars back here as well. Chris Cahill, Matt Kingsbury, Matt Holliba up to 27th. Again, he was the cause of our first caution light. He got away with one though, Finney, and imagine if that was in traffic. And I think you're right. I think he might have been playing with some of those onboard settings to try to get some speed all by himself. But again, if you build your car to be fast only that way, and then you get into traffic and it's slow, then you're in trouble. So I'm not sure that Matt Holliba is hit on the setup maybe quite as well as anybody else, but he's got talent. It's just a matter of does he have the setup to compete at the front this week.
Yeah, he's really pushing the car that loose to try to make up speed too. As I mentioned, that is not particularly a good sign. So hopefully he can figure out something, and just hope that the car over the course of the race, the car comes back to him. Kind of struggling back there in 27, back up in front. The Kraus and Nito show up in front. And really, it was surprised to see, because I think if Blocker can get up there, I'm sure he's going to be also vying to get a lap led, but has not been able to work past Ike.
This is unbelievable. We're 55 laps into this race. These guys have been switching spots. Kraus has led 20. Nito's led 21. We've gone back and forth almost perfectly the same number of times. That's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Ike's probably led the remainder between those two.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, he's got all three of these guys have been inside the top 3, I think, since the drop of the green flag. I don't think we've really exchanged other than when we've had a green flag cycle.
Top of the line in the background. Adam Crane in the 34 gets back behind A.J. Burton. And A.J. Burton is actually able to go up and drive around Adam Crane. And Jason Brophy still sits in 14th. And no one that has pit twice has moved forward since the green flag.
Yeah, it's going to be a big note for later for a lot of these guys. That track position is going to be worth it. And you can stay up there with all the tires. And it does depend also on the fact that you've been abusing the tires as well. You can't just be using them up the entire run and expecting them to work. A lot of those guys were preserving their tires for the long run, and just it just happened. Seemed to have enough. Brophy not really able to go anywhere, and the field's still divided from those that pit and those that didn't.
Closing in on our second pit stop sequence of the night, our second green flag pit stop sequence. Adam Blocker gained a little bit on the previous stop, and I think the danger for the entire rest of the field is he going to keep gaining spots on these green flag stops, because he was very efficient about it the first time, and nothing says he won't do it again.
Yeah, I think that's going to come down to a lot of it is this pit strategy for some of these guys, just to gain a position or two, especially if they're struggling like we're seeing Blocker. We saw him work quite a while to get past Brophy, and I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't even actually get to pass him on the track, was able to pass him in the pits. So yeah, I'm not sure again if it's his car, just being up near the front of the field, just not being able to get the pass to work for the 74.
Buzz of these cars as they drive by is an unbelievable sound. As we approach lap number 60 of 200. And just not a lot of mobility is what I've seen. I mean, our biggest mover really hasn't moved all that much. We've seen a lot more drivers fall downward than go upward. So, I mean, passing is possible, but it just seems like it's really hard to set up a pass. Now, while I say that, the front two have passed each other about 40 times already, so it just seems like if you're not out front, it's tricky to do. But here's Stouffer and Bennett trading spots for 8th, or at least trying to.
Yeah, there is a big thing due to wondering about how much are these guys actually trying. Again, as we've just chicked over a quarter of the way, we still got 3/4 of the way left in this race to go. There's still many laps to take off for a lot of these drivers, and how much is it riding a line, but also how much is these guys actually trying to pass one another. We've seen Brovey's been trying to make this pass work. He's been going under, over, left, right, center, everything he can do to get past some driver ahead of him that was on older tires. He's not been able to make anything work, and I'm curious if he is trying to pass at the moment. No, he's going to try to get that outside lane. You got to be very careful you don't get put into the wall there. He's still trying to make the outside lane. He's finally going to get present side by side and will finally pass the car for position. It only took him 18 laps.
He had to lift big time. He was doing 233 miles an hour off into turn 1. It's one of the highest speed traps we've seen all day. Absolutely hauling the mail and somehow made the pass on the outside. Almost put himself in the fence trying that though. So got to be careful not to overstep the bounds too much. Single file at the moment, except for the front two who have been trading spots like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I was never part of the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Were you?
I had Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then I think I dueled like one or two people in elementary school and like sucked at it. I don't think we even knew what we were doing.
That's a deeper. That's a real 1998 kid thing to say.
Oh.
Philip Kraus on pit lane. That's a little earlier than I was maybe expecting.
These guys could have gone about 4 laps more.
So here's what I think he's doing,
is
I think he's trying to hit his numbers, right? Came on in lap 31 earlier, now it's lap 62, so 31 laps exactly. He's got a strategy and a number that he needs to hit, and I think that's all he's doing, and he's not letting a caution flag dictate and mess up the strategy that he's planned. So I'm not upset with this decision. I don't know how this is going to pan out for him later in the day if you're not willing to adapt to the circumstance.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I would have thought he would have wanted to go further because, again, you pit every, looking at trying to pit every 33, 34 laps because that'll give you about, sorry, almost got my math wrong. About, I think, 5 stops for the race. That sounds about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 stops for the race, over the course of the race. So, and I thought he would have been trying to aim for around lap 66, 67, which is where you're kind of on board for that. But I'm a bit surprised that he pit early. We'll see if how many of the drivers are going to try to stretch it out as long as they can, which is what I would think he would want to do, considering a lot of the guys were kind of on that bubble. And again, I have no idea what they're planning. They could be definitely have an ace up their sleeve that I don't know about, which is definitely true. I'm not considering myself a pro IndyCar driver. Drive these cars a lot, not particularly good at it, decent. So they could be definitely up to something. We'll have to see if their strategy does prevail. As Blocker now has a solid chance at the lead, going to throw up the inside bike.
Yeah, I'll just bring the note that it doesn't seem to matter who's out front. Now Blocker and Ike are doing exactly what Nito and Kraus were doing. So I don't think it matters who is out front. I just think that something about the aerodynamics of this lead duo.
Go back to Nito and Kraus. Even in 31st place, they're swapping back and forth.
Oh my goodness. They found each other again. Oh, crash! David Adams, a hard crash on the back straightaway. Caution is out. That car is obliterated.
Yeah, curious how he ended up in that situation.
Wow.
That was a very violent crash.
Oh, on his own. Lost control and slammed into the tires. And Matt Hollaba right through the debris field. Made it through, but that was a big hit. Oh, man. Just the slightest slip here, and then doesn't overcorrect. He just lets it slide, but that inside wall attenuator collects him and just right across the racetrack, debris scattering all over the place. And he's actually past the camera there at the exit at turn number 2. But look at Evan Adams dodging parts and pieces. Let's ride on board here with Hollaba and see what he saw out the cockpit of his IR-18.
I think what he saw was a heart attack because he just saw the car explode right in front of him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right back into gear. Evan Adams also had a pretty decent look at this. We'll run on board with him. Managed to drive right through the debris field without any crash damage. So this sort of mixes things up now because Kraus and Nito already pit. And they're back on the lead. They never went a lap down, so they should cycle forward here.
Yeah, and that is if everyone decides to pit, which I would imagine we would. Yeah, and everyone coming on down to pit lane. So I thought this was going to be bad for a second, but looks like it is going to play out in their favor. As you can see, they were the only guys to stay out on the track. Everyone else getting service to their cars.
One other driver is going to stay out.
That is Trevor Greenfield's trying to get a lap back, so we'll get one of his 2 laps that he's down.
Working lap 66 to 200, our second caution of the day. Both crashes so far, single car. Only driver that will be out of the race, of course, is that 00 of David Adams, whose car is definitely done for the day, and that's where his Indy 500 bid will end. Philip Kraus and Wilson Nito will cycle to the lead. Blocker, Demerit, Ike, the rest of the top 5 are to take a step away. We'll be back for the restart in just a moment.
The coronavirus outbreak continues to impact public services, businesses, and historic events across the world, country, and state.
Today, IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced the greatest spectacle in racing is postponed due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
What a crazy time. These times are uncertain. They're difficult, and being honest, they're scary. But if we're not careful, this uncertainty could tear us apart, which would be a shame, because when you think about it, we've never been more united. This has affected all of us, and there is one path out of here, together.
The one thing I've heard Roger Penske say from the very beginning, the most important thing we can do is make sure that we run the Indianapolis 500 in 2020. That's all we've heard from that moment on. There was never, ever any conversation about cancellation.
It's easy to look back now to happier times, to more certain times, when socializing wasn't defined by distance, and our masks weren't so easy to see. But plans change, and we adapt. That's how this works. We're not running from this. We're chasing a solution, sprinting towards an answer, pushing ourselves forward, because how we react in moments like these is what defines us. We will be back, and you'll be with us to celebrate. I know a place.
Back live here on Sim TV for the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. Kyle Heyer joined by Finney DeCuna tonight for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series, the Indianapolis 500. Finney, welcome back. This is coming back to the green here in just a minute, but Philip Kraus has cycled back to lead after the caution flags. They've got a couple lap older tires, but as we saw in the first run, it didn't seem to matter.
You know, it's not. They really only slingshot like 1 or 2 times, I think, when they finally caught back up with one another. So, yeah, it really isn't going to make a whole lot of a difference. We're pretty much going to see it resume back where we left these guys off with, pretty much in the same order. Although, that being said, Adam Blocker up in 3rd place. See if he maybe starts to make a charge, maybe make it 3-wide for the lead.
Continues to move forward in the pit cycle. Adam Blocker in P3 now. Lap 68 of 200. About to get the green flag here for the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. There it is, green flag back in the air here from Indianapolis and the Brickyard. Cars out of line in the backdrop. Stepping out, Matt Pavelski, one of the drivers. It's a little bit thick back there traffic-wise. Pavelski to the inside of Tony Schowen, slides up. Riley Thompson, oh, huge crash behind him. That's a car upside down. Is that Evan? Who is that? Is that Kingsbury? Yes, it is. Tumble over. No, it's Evan Adams. Nope, who is that? I cannot tell. It's Brian Carey. Blue and white car for sure. There it is. Man.
Violent crash up into the fence for Carey.
Whoa. Oh, man. And that looks so similar to the Scott Dixon crash from 2017. Wow. Watch this. He's going to just get up on top and just launch skyward. And how it all starts, I think there's a slide by the 25 at Kingsbury, then he makes contact, Carey does, and just gets torn up, and so does the 25 at Kingsbury, and man, what a mess that is.
Yeah, so what happened is he was trying to avoid Kingsbury spinning, tapped the inside, to the inside, I believe that's Joe Branch that he hit, and then went up in the air, it was already airborne by the time he got to Kingsbury, who he just launched up and over, and the car is absolutely getting destroyed. It looks like they were the only two cars involved, though. Surprisingly.
Yeah. Just a hard impact. Happens so fast.
Ooh, also Chris Ko, I think that's something. Yeah, he also lost the wheel, so he's also going to be retiring from this race.
Ray Kingsbury's on board. Just watching out the rear here, you're going to watch this 79 car get airborne and launch off the back, and then I think that's Cahill that you mentioned that got impacted as well. But for Brian Carey, a hellacious ride up on top, airborne. Now I think we'll get a ride on board with him at full speed here. Oh, man. The nasty hit for Brian Carey knocked the camera out as well. He's down on pit lane and done for the night. Ray Kingsbury also likely done. That car is looking a little worse for wear. Chris Cahill, that front end is entirely ripped off, so he will end his night there. As our third caution of the night comes out at lap number 68, that one for a much more serious collision.
Yeah, the very, very violent crash, biggest one we've had so far. Only other cautions being a single spin from Hollaba, David Adams wrecking out at turn 2, and then this recent one out at turn 1. So something very clean for the most part on these two recent wrecks this race. So interesting seeing once they get back going again. And do you think, now they're approaching the halfway point? I'm curious if these guys are going to start to kick it up a notch, maybe try to better situate themselves. Now we got 70 laps of running under our belt.
Well, I think my bigger concern is we saw that restart get a little messier, and by messier I don't mean the crash, I mean that everyone got stacked up, and I think that stack up is drivers trying to game the restart to try to gain any ground, and as soon as drivers start to do that, Vinian, all the order that the single file restarts bring goes out the window, and you have people stepping out of line to avoid getting run into, and then that creates a chaotic mess going down into turn 1. So I would caution the drivers that there's still 130 laps left. There is so much to win if you can do this right and so much to lose if you do it wrong. I'm not sure that this restart coming up is the one that we should be doing 3-4 wide into turn 1 for. So be patient, be cautious, and race and make it to the end. That's the big deal to win this race tonight.
Yeah, we started to see passing not necessarily come out of premium, but definitely not the easiest thing to pull off, especially in the middle of a pack. So I think, as you mentioned, guys trying to get it done on the restart as much as they can, try to game their competitors. So hopefully we don't see it go awry for this next one here coming up in just a minute or so.
So this also will put us just shy of lap 100 for our next fuel stint. It'll be between lap 92 and 98, where we'll see drivers have to come down to pit lane. And at that point, you almost reset for a Indianapolis 250. So you can just basically split the race in two. And we'll see if drivers sort of treat it like that or if they're just going to continue their strategies overlapping.
Oh, also, just noting, David Adams is back out on the track.
Oh,
backup car.
Somehow got that car repaired. I guess it didn't. As long as the wheels don't get completely ripped off, I think you can repair it. So we should be good to go.
Oh, yeah, you can actually. I forgot you can actually repair the car back to full.
So just got back onto the racetrack. He is now actually only 5 laps down, just because of how quickly after the restart things happened. So spent 9 minutes in pit lane, went 5 laps down, and was back out.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of doing a little bit of a time lapse of seeing panels getting put back in order. replaced. It's kind of amazing to watch.
All right, Kraus down to second gear and time to go racing again. We'll try this again after our third caution. Indianapolis coming to the green flag, lap 72. Matt Hollaba in the 0-2 is up to 20th place, make it 19th. After he was the first caution of the night, started last. Oh, the smoke. Everyone's scattering. Another car crashed. And this time,
when they come to the top, it's going to be caution coming out, I imagine.
yeah, it's Daniel Ziegers, the one grinding to a halt on the outside fencing.
Oh, and Jason Brophy involved as well.
Oh, man. Let's go back. Oh, man, there it is. We'll have to go back a little farther to see how it started. It's an ugly wreck. Cautions, breeding cautions here at Indianapolis. Here's another look. Brophy pops out of line on Ziegers, then gets back in line. Ziegers just runs up, gets into the fence right in front of Brophy. Nothing he could have done.
Yeah, he's already committed to running, being up near the wall on the outside lane. As mentioned, there's nothing really he can do. His car is actually still looking, Brophy's car that is, looks still pretty much a one pretty successful replace the nose on that machine, but for Ziegler, he's looking done after a hard impact with the ball there.
Yeah, and you can hear the understeer. The car was not responding. And in traffic, the only other thing you can do is slam on the brakes, which would have ended with a similar result. And our fourth caution now, out at lap number 73. So cautions breeding cautions. And again, it's all starting with single car slip-ups. That's what's causing these to happen, Finney. It's just those little mistakes that turn into something more. We also have Brian Carey, who's just jumped out of the infield care center. And Brian, you went for a wild ride. It'll be the end of your Indianapolis 500 bid on lap number about 68. Take us through that crash there and what you saw.
Well, I'd had on the first start there, like coming into turn one, lower speeds, I noticed it was getting really loose. So I was counting on that happening in some places. I was able to get some spots the time before. And in this particular case, I just happened to be side by side with Joe Ray. So I saw the back end coming around. So I got off the gas, tried to give myself enough space, but unfortunately Joe was still there and I really had nowhere to go. And into Ray, and then you mentioned the infield care center. Luckily, I didn't need to go there because that would have been bad.
Yeah, well, it's an unfortunate early end to your night, but how did you feel about the strength of your car? And obviously, with the 500 over, you can sort of pivot your focus toward the next events on the schedule, which will be June 15th at Road America. How did you feel about your car tonight? Did you feel like you had something that could have been top 10? And we've got a couple road courses coming up, so how do you feel about those?
Well, I mean, I always love Road America, but I mean, this race here, I mean, easily top 10. Like, the car was good enough this way. I mean, this series is so competitive that I was picking up guys like maybe like a couple, 2, 3 a stint, like one every 10 laps kind of thing, right? So it was hard to do. I was going to need some cautions or some strategy to go my way, but the guys back on the team just, I mean, honestly, the thing was so fast. It was beautiful to drive in traffic. I had no issues. It's just you're going against 32 other very competitive guys out there, so it was hard to make moves.
All right, well, for Brian Carey, an early end of the night, but a strong run up until then. Brian, best of luck to you at Road America in June. We'll see you there.
Good call. I'm going to bring the cheese for that one.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, they got cheese curds up there in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And if you've ever had cheese curds, it's like deep fried, cheesy, amazing. It's the best.
Sounds American.
It made me super,
deep
super
fried
hungry.
cheese.
When I was up there working for SRO the first night, all the officials that I work with were having an internal meeting, so I was sort of off to my own devices for finding food. And I went up to this little bar restaurant buried next to Elkhart Lake, like in the woods. And it was like something out of like, you know, like an independent movie. It was like wet and rainy and like in the woods with like cars from the 90s. And I went inside and I don't remember what I had, but I had my first Spotted Cow beer, which everyone told me I had to get, which is fine. I'm going to get flack for saying it's fine. Everyone loves that stuff. And I also had myself some cheese curds, and it was fantastic. And I would go back in a heartbeat, and I wish to do so. But we're going to be heading to Road America in the National Park of Speed for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series, the next round, June 15th of this year.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I also would love to have that. It sounds awesome.
Well,
I
come
love
up with
cheese.
What are you doing? You should come up with me and do it.
I want to. So I still got to decide not decide. I still have to see if I'm able to.
Yeah. For
the NASCAR weekend.
Yeah, that's the July 4th weekend, I think. Or is that the?
Yep.
I can't remember which is which.
Nope, that's July 4th. The IndyCar, I think, is a week after. It's also close.
Gotcha. Yeah, you should just come up for the whole thing and do both.
I can't do both. I can only do one.
Well,
I have to come back.
Cheese curds, Finian. You got to think about the bigger picture. I really want cheese curds, and I don't think I can get them around, so I have to. Wish I could. Anyway, coming back to the restart here, lap number 76 will be our restart after our fourth caution of the night. Philip Kraus, Nito, Blocker, Demerit, Andreas Ike. That top five has not really changed. It's just shifted. We've had 3, 4, 5 change positions a couple times. Other than that, the top two have been pretty persistent. Try it again. Third time's a charm on this restart. Here we go. Adam Blocker putting pressure on Wilson Nito for second. Christopher Demerit, 3-time winner on the season, is running in fourth. Now remember how Demerit's season started off so good and then it all went downhill from there? He just desperately needs to get back on the bike and continue cycling. His last 3 finishes all outside the top 10. 2 of the last 3 outside the top 20.
And he's setting himself up for a really very good points all this, as mentioned, just to get himself back in. Back further up the standings, probably closer to where he should be. Problem is, a lot of his other competitors also doing very well, so he's not going to gain quite too much. With Ike, Blocker, and Kraus all still ahead of him or around him.
Have a look at the weather. 121-degree track temperature. That's the highest we've seen it all day. It will likely continue to climb. And it's been sort of all over the place. This track is super temperature sensitive. I believe the hottest I've ever seen in iRacing was right here at Indianapolis, 138 degrees Fahrenheit. A couple seasons ago.
Oh boy, what race was that?
It was a fuel race back in the day. Hot.
Yeah, I don't know what's with fuel in hot races. They also had the Premier Series at Charlotte. It was 150 something.
Oh my goodness.
It was boiling there.
Cook a steak on that, probably. Oh, this is getting a bit spicy here for the top 5 because Christopher Demerit rather. Was offset to the inside of Adam Blocker. It looked like he had intentions to go someplace.
It couldn't quite make that move come to fruition. I think he realized it's going to be tough trying to pass 3 cars at once. He might try to wait for an opportunity to strike, though, but again, he's not a driver particularly in a rush.
So close as they went into turn 1, it was like as they went by. So fast, so furious.
I'm surprised. I think it's going to be the next race title. They're already out of combinations. So I think it's going to come up at some point. Ooh, Demerit trying to look to the outside. No, it's just him getting offset.
Furious and fast delicious.
Oh, man. Don't like that one at all.
Here's Kinsella, previous 500 race winner, the only one in the field, attacking Andreas Ike for 5th.
He's actually backing out of the gas, trying to just set himself a little bit further in behind. Doesn't want to be directly in behind the rear wing.
And offsetting, I feel like the aero wash is getting worse with the hotter track temp.
Oh, it definitely should get a lot worse. He said these guys are comfortably riding on the 110, 110, so now it's slowly creeping. Oh, it was 121 last time I looked at it, now 122.
Yeah, it's getting hotter and hotter. 120 laps to go next time by. And as the temperature increases, the grip level is going to go down as the track gets greasy and hot. And as it does that, drivers are going to start to feel a lot more understeer, especially following each other in a draft. When's go time? I mean, we're a long way from it, Finian, but is it 50 laps to go? Is it 20? Is it 10? Is it 5? How long do you wait to make a move?
I think it's probably going to come down to the window of the last two pit stops. I think you're going to spend that second to last one, building up a run, trying to definitely situate yourself, and the last run is going to be the sprint to the end there. I think so. I think looking at around a lap 130, 140 is probably where we're going to start to see these guys start to really make some moves. And it's not that they haven't been slowly working their way up. They saw their Andrew Wood. He's the kind of drop back to these spots after starting up in 4th. AJ Burton there started in 14th up to 12th. So definitely now I want to try to be moving up as many spots as possible. Wreck out of turn 4, Evan Adams.
Adams' left front tire broken and bruised, and he will pull that car onto pit lane, or try to at the very least.
Yeah, he will try. I don't think that you're able to fix it once that wheel starts bobbling like that. That suspension broke. Oh, he's going to hit the wall again. Yeah, I think he's going to be done.
Let's have a look. Oh, he got in the fence between 3 and 4. Went onto the access road and she tried to save it, ran up and then got in the fence.
Oh.
Does he get hit? No. Just a single car incident again. It's been sort of par for the course. Well, he almost saved it. He did a great job getting it down onto the access road, and then here it loses it, and it whips around on the grass. Then gets the fence. Well, that is a little worse for wear, I'll say.
Trying to get that thing back in its pit box. Finally was able to do so.
Going up on the jack. Probably need a little bit more work than normally, but caution out for the, what are we on, 4th or 5th time now?
I want to say 5th.
You're right, 5th caution. Keeping track as Philip Kraus has led some more laps than not because he's been kind of getting caught in front on these yellow flags. He's now led 42 laps. Wilson Nito has led 23. So remember, they had at one point, Wilson Nito had led 21. Kraus had led 20, and Nito's only led 2 laps since then.
Also, I wanted to point out, I didn't get a chance to in the last caution. Ray Kingsbury is also back out on the track.
I'm shocked by that because his car was also pretty well destroyed.
Yeah, they've been able to really fix up these cars. They're taking everything out of the parking bin, just slapping it back on, calling it new.
Well, 10 minutes on pit lane. The persistence paid off. Zegers and Carey, I think.
Yeah, he's actually, if I'm not mistaken, he's actually fighting with Adams because they're both 5 laps down, so they're both battling for 29th.
You are correct. Jason Brophy came down pit lane during the green flag sequence that we just initiated, and is now 2 laps down. It's been 1 minute and 38 seconds on pit lane.
Also, correction, this is our 4th caution.
Thank you for checking. So 4 cautions in. Again, this is sort of the cautions breeding cautions that we've expected to see in the past, but it's all been small single car incidents with one exception being Brian Carey's hellacious ride into the fence, the exit at turn number 1. As we get towards the halfway point of this race, do we see this dying down and going green again for a while, or do you think it's going to continue to have an accident like this as drivers feel the urgency?
I think it's kind of going to depend on how much more these guys are going to push. I think they've probably, obviously can't catch it for everyone, but I'm sure a lot of guys have had some heart-stopping moments where you have the back end kick out when you have the weight jacker dialed up too much, or almost understeering into the wall. So you kind of feel that out, as you start to feel limits out of the car, and especially too as the track temperatures have been changing again and again over the course of the race, getting grippier, getting looser, or a lot less grip, sorry, I should say, to work with. So these guys have been trying to adapt to it all the entire course of the race. So I would imagine that they kind of know what their car is doing, and now it's just kind of adapting to the weather change. Sorry, the track temperature changing over the course of the run. As you take a look at it again, 120. So it's starting to go back down on a downswing a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a little bit all over the place. It's been as low as about 111, as high as 122 that we've seen so far. Kraus continues to lead. He's led the most laps of this race by far, almost half the laps that we've run. And the strategy is sort of all over the place now, and it'll probably take a run and a half to sort of re-strategize.
We got some guys coming back down to pit road, so
only a handful of drivers towards the tail as we get the one to green. One of those drivers is Ray Kingsbury. Nothing to lose. You're not going to win this race from 5 laps down, but you can pass other people that have crashes, and Kingsbury setting himself up to run as long as he can and stay safe so he can pass anybody else that has a bad day.
yeah, I mean, again, this is the persistence that we talked about too. This race, a lot, again, double points. So he's gonna be coming out of here losing quite a few points. It's just a matter of mitigation at this point. I remember coming both races I took part in for the Lionheart Retro Series. I crashed out of both and had to spend the rest of the summer trying to claw back all the points I lost after running around the top 10 in points. I'll get shoved back out to like past 15th. I have to try to claw my way back up the standings because this race is never particularly good to me in that car.
And it's not forgiving in any way. We've got a month off to think, actually almost a month and a half, just about a month and 4 days to think about what happens here today. Our next race, again, the entire month of May will be off for the Indy Elite Series, and our next round will be on June 15th at Road America.
That's 2 months.
Oh, you're right. Wow. Math.
Math is hard.
Yeah, it is hard sometimes. Followed right after, 2 weeks later, by Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And then it'll be another month off until we head to Worldwide Technology Raceway, Kansas, Laguna Seca, Iowa, and Auto Club to finish out the season. So a handful of road races left, a handful of speedway races left, but the biggest and best of them all is right here at Indianapolis. Time to go back to green flag again on lap number 86, 15 laps until halfway. Wilsonito sizing up Kraus again for the top spot. Right behind him, Adam Blocker in the 74.
Yeah, Blocker actually had a really good run going, but actually decided to back out of it, just kind of stick in single file. I'm surprised he's been a little bit more aggressive in behind these guys, but just continuing to kind of poke his nose where he can.
Adam Crane up to 10th in the 34 car. We haven't really talked a whole bunch about him. He started 15th. Right behind them, though, Christopher Demerit side by side with Dakota DiCienzo scraping the wall down the front straightaway. Demerit fell back after coming down pit lane a little before everybody else. Now side by side, there's A.J. Burton in the 15 car. He has gone a whole lot of nowhere today, frustratingly.
Yeah, he's just been sticking around the midfield. As you mentioned, it is a little bit frustrating. You know, you expect yourself to move up, at least a few more positions, or even back down a few positions. Probably wouldn't be as bad as going absolutely nowhere, but still riding around in the midfield as Demerit trying to charge his way back forward is the highest of the drivers that have pit under the last caution.
Adam Crane in the 34 car, following Tony Shallon's 31. Robert Malechka in the 91 car. He started this race in 22nd, one of our biggest movers so far, up 11 spots. And in front, you see Andrew Wood right behind Henry Bennett. That's for 7th.
Yeah, actually Bennett's been dropping back a little bit, let his teammate Christopher on by a little bit ago, and now is going to take a little bit of a high lane as Wood is trying to look up the bottom. Can't get much of anything out of it.
Well, nice and neat across the line now as we begin lap number 90 of 200. One's line astern, pop out of line, Stouffer in the 13. Up the inside of Andreas Eich, started 12th up to 6th. Can't keep the car stuck to the bottom of the racetrack. And Andreas Eich, he has not gone forward much tonight, but he also hasn't gone backwards very much. I like the race that Eich is running. I just don't know if he's got the pace to get back any of these spots that he's losing.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we haven't really seen this car making passes unless he was slingshotting back and forth, which really isn't too terribly difficult. Really, the difficult ones are the ones when you're trying to make passes occur in dirty air. And I haven't seen him been able to do that after he's been passed by Blocker and now Kinsella. And even Stouffer's been eyeing him up here and there. So that's going to be the big telling sign if that car can move back forward. But yeah, Stouffer's been looking also fairly strong getting that car back up there after starting in 12th.
Riley Thompson, whoa, big understeer behind Burton in the 15. There's Adam Dock and Matt Pavelski. They almost had it coming together at the exit of turn number 1. Evan Adams about to go another lap down. He is actually he's 5 laps down. About to go a 6th. He's got that car repaired and pulls onto the access road to stay out of the way. Adam Crane underneath Tony Shallon tucks in line. It's getting pretty racy inside the top 10 right now.
Yeah, I think these guys are really starting to push this car closer to its limits, especially trying to make passes occur. Because you definitely want to figure out, if you haven't been doing so, if you've just been kind of riding in line these first almost 100 laps now it's kind of the time you want to test the waters. Kinsella throws a move up to the inside of Eich. He was trying to get past him, and now he's also looking to the inside of Blocker.
I like the way Kinsella's moving forward right now. He's got pace. Remember, he is the only driver in this field that has a previous 500 victory in the Coca-Cola of Kokomo in the Elite Series. So he's moving forward, his first time inside the top 5 after starting this race back in 7th.
Like a bit of a adrenaline motorsport sandwich. He's got a Blocker in front of him. He's got Kinsella to his left and also Stouffer behind. Now Kinsella going to get a little bit past Blocker, peeling out, trying to give his teammate just a bit of draft to get clear, and indeed he does. And here comes Stouffer now. Better run to the inside lane. We'll see if he can hold it this time.
Yeah, he just got pinched down too much the previous time around. Got to watch the understeer, though. It's going to force Eich up the racetrack. Eich hangs on and continues to keep running in 4th. Kinsella slotted in between Eich and Blocker. And now Bennett under attack from Andrew Wood.
Bennett, though, going to get more into the slipstream. You see what he's trying to get some side of kind of side depth, anything to work with. He's going to lose out. Going to have to peel back and behind Bennett.
A lot less order happening at the bottom half of the top 10. There's Demerit having a look at Malechka in the number 91 car. Kraus.
And Demerit's been consistently cutting through the field a little bit with those fresher tires, and it's a bit more of a distinction, about almost 20 lap difference in tires, at least by our official count. As far as how many laps run under greens, probably not as much, but still has been making some decent progress. This car's working a lot better than what we saw with Brophy. He was just not able to make anything work when he was in the similar situation.
Expecting pit stops any moment now. Kraus out front has 32 laps on his tank of fuel. Could be this lap, could be next, could be the one after that because of the extended savings under yellow, so we could see them go as far as 35 or 36 laps on this tank.
Yeah, I think we're going to kind of see them go closer to 40 because we had quite a few cautions in this last kind of run. Not all of these guys elected to stay out, so yeah, definitely you're going to extend it more. But we're on quite a few different pit strategies for a lot of the drivers, almost looking at almost.
Dicey. Matt Hollaba squeezed 3 wide on the inside of Tanner Watkins and the outside of Pavelski. I was just about to bring attention to Hollaba because he's clawed so far forward.
He got absolutely bullied out of that spot. Got taken 3 wide in the middle out of turn 2, lost 2 spots in 1 corner. That was amazing.
And here's a look at it again from the sky. And here comes Tanner Watkins. He's the black and silver, and on the bottom, the orange is Pavelski. He got a little bit loose, and that's going to bring Watkins to the outside. He has to lift here. And just got totally taken advantage of there for a moment, but he'll drop 2 spots. But his progress has been good. And again, this was the driver I said we have to keep an eye on in the early going. He started 33rd with no indication of his pace. He'll be good, and he'll finish inside the top 10 in it.
Yeah, he's lost quite a bit of time to the draft of Pavelski and Watkins to actually catch back up to him. But yeah, overall, considering the fact he started at the tail end of the field, is still looking to be pretty good up in 19.
Kraus, Nito, Blocker, Kinsella, Eich, 1 through 5. Then it's Stouffer, Bennett, Wood, Crane, and Shallon, the rest of the top 10. And now single file, just orderly and calm for the time being, but we're closing in on halfway. About an hour and 11 minutes of racing remaining here, Finney. We're getting down to the point when I would ask you to declare me which driver is going to win. And I think if you pick anybody inside the top 5, that's a pretty good pick.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we've seen all these guys up near the top of the order in some capacity the entire day. Less so Kinsella, but he's been kind of up there now. Really, where it's been mattering the most to see they're trying to make something work to the outside of Wood. But if I were to pick a winner, I mean, looking definitely at those top 2, and I want to say I think I'm going to go with Philip Kraus. I think he's definitely a man that knows how to get it, knows how to get it done. And he has some experience running this race last year. Not where he finished last year, actually.
The numbers are in your favor. I will give you that. But I think fate is in the favor of Wilson Nito. He has been denied victory so many times, denied even a race so many times after having the strength to sit on the front row. Tonight, I think it's Wilson Nito's time. He's going to put all the terrible season behind him, and he's going to win this race tonight in 102 laps. It's going to take some effort and a little bit of luck maybe, but I think Nito's going to get it done.
Yeah, well, for Philip Kraus, he did run last year, but crashed out after 25 laps. So wasn't a lot of experience, but it was still experience.
Car on pit lane, David Adams will be beginning a whole rush down to pit road. And again, if you pit on lap 100, you can just split this race up exactly as you did the first 100. And just try to make it to the end on, what, 3 more, 2 more?
Yeah, pretty much these guys are going to be looking, once they make this next pit stop, about 2 more pit stops if they time it right. Looking at a pit stop at around lap 133 and then around 166 is going to be where the next pit stop numbers for a lot of these guys are going to be at.
Merritt really high out of turn 4. But still picking up time. Closing in on 10th place, that's Showland in the 31. In the backdrop, keeping an eye on Dakota DiCienzo in the 43 car. Started this race in 21st place. A good climb for him, a little wide. And again, I've seen a lot of drivers kind of post up and cheat up the racetrack on that outside groove. It makes me nervous because there's so little time to react if you make even the slightest mistake as Kraus hits pit lane at halfway.
Yeah, I saw Blocker doing a similar thing. You just stuck the car up to the outside in 1 and 2 and then turned back in like normal in 2 and 4. That seemed to be working pretty well for him, and DiCienzo looks like he's been trying to run a similar line to him, but he's going to lose a lot of time out of the corner at that time. Third, he's got in behind him, that is Joe Branch making a run. Pavelski moving forward with vengeance. Halfway through the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317 for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. Kyle Heyer alongside Finney DeCuna for the longest and most important race of the season. We are halfway through. Pavelski is halfway done with this race as well and has a little bit more work to do to move forward and towards the top 10. Here's Andrew Wood all over the back of Henry Bennett. This 007 car has not been as strong as we've seen him in past seasons, but a win today would do him wonders for confidence, I'm sure. Yeah, he's been running fairly well in this particular race. Again, he's not been too exciting of a driver to follow. He's been running just inside the top 10 and kind of stay there throughout this race. So not a whole lot of action from the 007, but I think that's probably how he likes it. Again, got the first half underway. See Nito pulling off the pit lane as well. I'm not sure there was white and red car. That is Joe Branch. Yeah, Joe Branch also going to hit. Nope, that's not Joe Branch. Sorry, that was Malechka in the 91. He's the one that came on down. About an hour worth of racing remaining. Adam Blocker is out front. And he has led 5 laps this race, all on the pit sequencing. There's Wood out of line on Bennett here. Yeah, trying to have a look at that inside, but it has just not worked for any driver that has tried. And outside lane really seems to be the place to be, especially if you're defending and if you're passing too. It seems to be working out a little bit better. Riley Thompson, AJ Burton, they've been hovering around each other most of the night. Burton with a big run, lifts into turn 1, no urgency felt, perhaps by the 15. Andrew Kinsella just got by Adam Blocker for the top spot.
And Walker's going to swing around him again. I think what's causing this is just that big bubble of air that the leader has to negotiate. Everybody behind is in the draft already. They're not accelerating much faster than each other because they're all in the same draft. But out front, you don't have that draft, and you're going to get past pretty easily. So you're going to see the 14 car do the same thing again.
I think what also this is, remember, these two cars are teammates with one another. I think what they decided, since Kraus and Nito are out down on pit lane, they pit in their back, I think they figure if they could try to leapfrog, which again, it can work, it's hard to make it work right, but if you time it correctly and time the pass correctly, you can make yourself go faster by swapping the drafty straight. So you see Blocker, got a run, he's going to pull to the inside lane, have a little bit of a run to work with. It just makes you go just a little bit faster, but it could be worth it in the long run. So I think that's what these two are trying to work at, though they're due to come to pit road, imagine a few laps time.
Yeah, looking at their, they're on lap 39 of their run, so they can't possibly go too much longer. There's the 007. He's going to slam his way down to pit lane aggressively. Going to bring a couple drivers with him just behind the pylon there. That's the 64 of Andrew Wood. Also, I believe, Tony Shallon's 31.
Yep, indeed. All three of those cars coming down to pit lane nice and tidy.
Is there anyone that's going to surprise us today? I don't think that there's anyone out there that is going to sneak up into the picture. I mean, you could argue that the 14 has done that, but he has history of doing it. But can someone like Stouffer or Crane creep into the mix and be an upset today?
I don't know. I mean, I really feel like if you haven't been up in the picture, it's going to be tough to get here. I think maybe with a strategy call here and there. Actually, speaking of Stouffer, I think Stouffer definitely has a good shot. He was making some good moves up towards this pit stop, so I think he's got what it takes. He's got a car slow down pit lane.
Ray Kingsbury in the 25.
And Kingsbury has been out. He's still running, but 6 laps down, so everyone's trying to stay out of his way.
I think he was slowing down just to fit in single file as the pit lane narrows there about halfway down. Be smart driving there. Christopher Demerit leads the way. Dakota DiCienzo, Matt Pavelski. 1, 2, 3.
I think we might see Demerit. Demerit's going to be able to stay out for quite a while. Pavelski also, DiCienzo is due probably within the next 5 laps. Demerit, he's on 20. Demerit and Pavelski, as well as most of the other drivers in behind, are running 23, 24 laps on their stint.
So some differences in strategies here to the end of the race. We haven't seen a caution in quite some time, about 30 laps or 20 laps or so, 25 laps. Will we get another one, do you think? Are we good to go to the end? I mean, I think the stats tell us we probably will.
Yeah, but as far as when, I think it's really anyone's guess. Because once these guys have been spread out, again, other than that one freak accident here or there, we're been pretty good. So it's going to be kind of hard to predict to see when these guys come out. It's just going to be on whoever messes up just a little bit, puts the car on the wall or spins out of a corner. That'll really get these guys back together. So I do think, though, we're definitely set for a decent green flag run. The question, I think, is going to really be, and it's what these drivers are going to be wondering too, is how long it's going to last.
Well, I think once that caution flag comes out, we saw the chaos that it created in the short term. I think you'd expect something similar. Now, if we're towards the end of the race and we get a caution within the last I'm going to say if we get a caution in the last 20 laps and you're good to the end on fuel, it is not worth to come to pit lane, in my opinion, because what I think the strategy to win this race is if we get a caution late race, do not pit ever. Track position is going to be key, and we'll likely get more cautions to end the race out. So I would say if you get a caution with 25 laps or less to go, stay out if you were out front.
Yeah, we saw that experiment fail with Brophy. A little bit better with Demerit, but even still, he was still kind of struggling.
Oh, car on the fence at the exit of turn 2. I don't think it was John Downing. It was another driver. Was it David Adams? I think it was. He's 8 laps down. Let's go back and have a look.
I think he was trying to stay in the way. He clipped the wall a little bit, but he's just kind of trying to ride out here for as long as he can. Because that car is fixed up, but I think the suspension and the engine are still struggling.
Yeah,
so it looks fine, but it's not. It looks fine, but it's not really fine.
It's not helping it very much. Look at this as we go back to the leaders that have already hit pit lane, and Blocker has cycled in front. The strengths for the 74 have been on pit road tonight, and he's leapfrogged every car that he's passed on pit lane. But Nito is going to take him to school here on the backstretch.
Yeah, I was going to say he really needs to give his virtual people probably a raise. They've been getting the job done tonight.
Certainly have. Wilsonito, though, so strong for the top spot. But where is Philip Kraus just behind them. So the 74 going to go back by, wants the spot back. This is all for about 13th, but it should cycle to be the race leaders. Up front, Pavelski leads Christopher Merritt and Riley Thompson. Tanner Watkins, AJ Burton, the rest of the top 5. And it looks like Philip Kraus just got by Adam Walker. I think in order, the fastest drivers in this field are, well, I guess you could, the 80 and the 19 are a toss-up, but I'd say that it's probably Kraus, Nito, and Blocker in that order in terms of how fast they are.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair assessment for those guys. Let's continue to see if that is going to be the case again, especially now we got a different part of the field on a different strategy. They're able to make time or even end up losing time. It's going to be the big question.
So Matt Pavelski leads Demerit again. He's been out on the racetrack for 29 laps on this fuel tank. And with some cautions, he should be able to go a little bit longer before he comes down pit road. Different strategies, we'll see how they pan out. It's going to matter sort of how you land. So you have to run this race backwards a little bit and figure out where you need to be to make that final run to the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to check. So looking at Nito's group compared to Pavelski and Demerit, about similar lap times. It's kind of been going back and forth, a tenth to one group, 10 to the other. Not really going either which way, so they're kind of even and a bit of a stalemate at the moment. And we do expect Demerit, Pavelski, and pretty much the rest of the top 10 to be coming down within the next three or so laps.
Dan Inch on pit lane in the number 52 will pull away. Getting a little harder to follow the strategy as things move on. There's Matt Holleba up to 5th on this strategy. Again, the car I'm keeping my eye on to see how this pans out for him. And the 75 and the 144 trading spots. Riley Thompson's a full second back, running a hair quicker though in clean air.
Yeah, once you get within about 1.2 seconds is typically the magic number. Once you get into that range, you start getting a little bit of a slipstream from the guys up ahead, and especially when you're this far back, you're going to be getting more draft than you are aero wash in the corners. He's going to start closing right back up on these guys, make it a 3-car fight for the lead.
Five laps to go this time through. Matt Holleba, we were just talking about him. He's going to come in and hit pit lane with 85 to go. Now do the math, 32-ish laps on a tank in the draft. Another 32 laps. I mean, it's the two-stopper from here for sure. And it's probably a two-stopper for pretty much everybody. It's just a matter of how long you have to make that last.
It's pretty much going to be a two-stopper for everyone, and I think it's really going to come down to, if these guys are able to make inroads, which I don't think they have. The gaps have been pretty equal, around 31, 32 seconds between that second group as they work their way down onto pit road. So it's going to be kind of a toss-up as for which one of these two are going to be up in front. I want to say it's going to be Nito, Kraus, and Blocker, who will be coming in at full speed, tires all nice and warmed up and ready to go with the momentum. So I think they'll be able to take the lead back. It's really just going to be interesting to see if there's any gap at all between these two.
Nito has led 25 laps, Kraus 59. So the 19's been the slightly more dominant of the two, but both of these cars, the purple and pink, have been interchangeable. And the weekend after Easter, quite festive looking, in fact. Henry Bennett is now cycled into 5th place. And a driver that sort of dropped off of the radar a little bit is this guy right here, Andreas Seid.
Yeah, he's been slowly dripping back. Was running again up inside the top 3 pretty much the entire race till lap 1, until around lap 80, lap 90, and then slowly began to trickle on back. Put him all the way back into 10th place at the moment. That's not with any real strategy. Pretty much everyone's come on down. So it's it's going to be kind of tough to see if he can go up from here. His car looks like he's been struggling to pass.
There's Adam Crane in the 34 on a mission right now. Trying to get by that 76. He was close, but no cigar that time.
I'm trying to have a look, and I was trying to take a look also at where everyone's kind of ended up. Pretty much back where they started. Demerit was 11th when he came in. Before the cycle started with 2 different groups of drivers coming in, and he's back out on 11th, so he gained nothing. And lost nothing as well.
Alaba and Doc trading spots. That's for 18th place. All right, now we're clicking off laps here in the second to last run of the night. And I just am shocked at how persistent these top 3 have been. They have been so solidly here. I would be shocked if one of these 3 did not win this race. But you also have to think about the drivers on the other strategies. The guys like Demerit, the guys like Matt Pavelski. Could they just sneak in there and outsmart them? Maybe. But I don't think you're out racing. You got to do something different.
Yeah. What they could really do, I think they might have to reevaluate the strategy, because everyone's going to have to make 2 more stops. No one's going to be able to make 1 last stop, so that's not going to play into your hands at all. So I'm curious to see if we may see some guys decide to just stay out and kind of pin around where the second group comes in, because they're also coming in just about to the point where they're pretty much good to the end of the race.
Calm before the storm down here in turn number 1. So quiet and as they zip on by. So cool. 80 laps to go here from Indianapolis. Nito, Kraus, Blocker. Let's drive a little deeper in the field and find some other battles happening. Here's John Downing and AJ Musselman for 22nd. These guys still on the lead lap.
Yeah, fairly okay drives for both these guys, sitting about 13 seconds back from the leader.
Here's Pavelski. This busy traffic now on the front straight. This is all happening in the shadow of the race leaders. And the 75 is the one I've got my eyeballs on, just because of his win at Chicagoland a few weeks ago and relative strength of Pavelski throughout the season. If anybody can outsmart those front 3, it might be this guy.
Yeah, I think he's kind of facing a similar problem with as Demerit. It's going to be really tough to pass. He's been trying to pick him off 1 by 1. As Demerit's kind of working to the inside of Andreas Ike, trying to put him back in 10th, but no cigar for Demerit. Pavelski's been also working back on Crane, also with no dice.
I'm shocked at how little loss of grip it seems like that upper group has. Seems like you can't really use it to pass, but you can defend up there, and you're certainly not losing all that much time.
Yeah, but to pass, I think you pretty much have to be already present alongside. You can't really slingshot back in behind someone, jump out to the outside, and make that pass. You definitely have to be somewhat along present, and I'm sure a lot of the guys know they're going to be pretty much tucked up to the wall before they turn into the corner. Almost 3 wide out of turn 4 here, though.
It's Andreas Ike right next to Tony Schau and Christopher Demerit. I think Ike is feeling some pressure maybe to move back forward. Started this race in 3rd and has just slowly and surely dropped backwards, and that's not the direction he wants to be going.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. You know, some of these guys have cars that are better out and dirtier, some of them better out in front, and Ike definitely looks like his car is better out towards the front of the field. He's just not been able to make anything work, and it's been working in the opposite direction for him.
Stouffer and Malechka in the 91. Got a little bit spicy at the exit of turn 2, and there's that 76 to the outside of the 144. Demerit slams the door shut decisively.
Yeah, you can see that he just didn't want to let any chance of him coming back. He just slammed the door shut. Pavelski now using a great run out of turn 4, though. It's going to be a little bit tough because Ike's the right behind and the draft's going to be tucked up inside. He'll be able to make that stick, though, is going to be the big question here. Yeah, Ike not getting nearly as good of a run as you've seen other guys been able to just rip that outside lane. He's been able to at least stay alongside, but not as decisive as some other drivers.
75 laps to go next time by in Nito Kraus blocker. Wow, do you see how close the wood got?
Oh, Merritt contact with a driver up ahead.
Oh, right back across the road. It's Tony Showen. Hard in the wall, and the caution is out with 75 to go. Caught someone else involved in it, too. That's Dakota DiCienzo, yes.
Yeah, that's how it started. It started the contact with DiCienzo and Merritt. And Tony Showen was also picked up in the aftermath.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, no, it was Tony Showen, and it's Tony Showen that he picked up first.
Let's go back and have a look at how it started. There's the 144. Oh, Showen comes across the nose, gets into the fence. Goes back across the racetrack and then back up, and nothing DiCienzo could have done there. That's a shame. Not on board with 43. Man, that hurts. And for the 144, Christopher Demerit, he better, if he has any hope of finishing off the season on a high note, he's going to have to get back out there and repair that damage. I didn't really get a good look at how bad it was. He's still rolling.
Yeah,
actually
it
not
almost,
that bad.
Yeah, it actually looks like it didn't give him any damage. I don't even see so much as a crease on that wing. I'm sure he's got, I think if I'm not mistaken, he has a crew chief for this race, so I'm sure there actually doesn't, but I think he's probably asking guy up ahead. But everyone coming down.
Yeah, so this is going to simplify the strategy, I think, because basically we're going to run our next 34-ish lap run will take us to 160.
They're going to be short. Not by much, but they're going to be a little bit short. It's not going to simplify.
Well, if they pit now then once more.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do potentially 2, more likely 3. It's gonna be close. They're gonna get the green probably around lap 130. And again, they can go about 33, 34 laps. They're gonna be short like about 3 laps, 3-4 laps.
Oh, blocker.
Oh,
Contact, and his teammate also got a piece of it. What happened?
not sure what, but he actually went out of lane before. So Blocker's gonna get a penalty, and Bennett, he's gonna have to come down and fix that car.
Oh man, that's catastrophic for the 007.
You don't normally see incidents on pit road, but
no, that was a weird one too. We'll go back and have a look. Blocker end up timing and scoring down in 16th place. Leaving pit road. I'm gonna go back a little further to find out. He leaves his box.
yeah, this is really weird. He leaves his box, he's going, slams on the brakes.
Why?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I almost want to get it lended to like either equipment, like the brake disactivated on him or something. I don't see why he would have gotten on the brakes.
That is the weirdest thing I've seen in a while. Something had to be wrong there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no incentive for him to lose. It's not like we're doing double file restarts where it makes sense to be in a different lane. So strange.
Yeah, and also I don't think he would have slammed on the brakes that violently to just completely lock them up. So yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one, but he's gonna get a penalty. He always got a left rear.
That's the penalty, is the left rear tire being broken. That's gonna hurt him way more than any penalty would. And for the 007, even worse.
He should be lucky that thing's still hanging on. It's technically repairable. But he's going to be a few laps down before he can probably get back out on the track. We got 1 degree news.
So we're hearing maybe that he was speeding, but that just seems like an incredible lapse of judgment to stomp on the brakes in the middle of the pit lane.
Yeah, and also the fact that these things have pit limiters.
Well, I think he might have forgotten to turn it on, but I mean, Adam Blocker's got to be smarter than just stomping on the brakes in the middle of the active pit road. That doesn't seem like an Adam Blocker mistake. But
yeah.
If that's what happened, wow, that is a big deal. Remember this double points race, Adam Blocker came in 2 points behind Andreas Eich. The way he was running, he might have left here as the points leader.
Yeah, he was definitely speeding. He was up to 75 miles an hour.
Wow. Okay, so that was it then. That was not one of Adam Blocker's better decisions. I'll give him that. I mean, I'd rather just take the penalty.
Yeah, that's going to cost him not only his race but his teammates' race, and they're both effectively out of it by a long shot. So yeah, that's not going to be a good day for both those cars. Actually, Bennett looks like he's actually able to roll back out on pit lane. It's going to be way behind the field, but that car's still going to be running on the lead lap.
So 75 mile an hour down to 0 and gets a punt to add to it. All right, well, let's re-rack, restack. Lap 129 of 200. Demerit, Nito, Kraus, Kinsella, Stouffer. The top 5, then it's Malechka, Pavelski, Ike, Crane, and Riley Thompson creeping into the top 10. Kind of a reset here with just over 70 laps to go. And we got to save a little fuel or come down a third time. Not sure what strategy is going to be. Does anyone pit right after the restart? Come on down and get a splash? Or is it going to be something else? Let's see. Green flag back in the air. Should also note that the attrition has started to mount a little bit. We're down to only 23 drivers on the lead lap. Now, in recent weeks, we've had incredible attrition rates. Start with 27 to 30, and then end up with 12 or 15 by the end of the race. Now, given Indianapolis' longer nature, the urgency hasn't been high. We've wrecked a pretty small number of cars tonight, but that number is growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see if that's going to continue to climb. Also, of note for Demerit, we didn't really point out, he was running 9th by the time the caution came out. Taking out Bennett and Blocker's situation, he would have been upped into 7th had he maintained position. He jumped up to 1st, and the reason being he only took fuel on that stop. Bought him another 4, or cut him 4 seconds compared to everyone else, and that's how he's able to
crashed Mike Kitchell hard on the back straightaway. Wow. Mike Kitchell, the Pennzoil car. That's totaled. And this looks really similar to the crash we saw earlier, the exit of turn 2. Let's go back and see how this all, probably a similar thing.
Oh no, this is not similar at all. I think he had hardware failure.
Oh man, That is definitely a hardware failure. It just drove straight into the wall at the exit of turn 2. Oh, that is absolutely brutal. It's right on board. You can typically see this by the stiffness of the steering wheel. Oh, actually, you know what? This is not a wheel failure. This is more likely a monitor failure. He just keeps turning. You can see the wheels moving, but he lost the screen.
It was definitely some sort of failure with this system.
Yeah, visibility most likely. Mike Kitchell is out. And with that, fuel saving, everyone's going to go into that mode, and we're going to step away, take a break. We'll be right back for the restart here with under 70 laps to go from the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317.
How do you build an empire? You don't start with glass and steel and concrete. You start with a single brick. Laid side by side together, they become something much bigger. These bricks are a part of history. The people who set them into the earth were building more than just a racetrack. They were building a legacy. They were building memories. They were building dreams. As As decades passed, a kingdom rose around this 2.5-mile ribbon of asphalt. It became an international icon. Lives were made here, and lives were lost here, in a pursuit of eternal glory. No one has to say why this place is special. It just is. And though over the years the pavement between these walls has been paved time and time again, there is still a stretch of bricks by the finish line to remind us all that great things come from humble beginnings.
One to green here in the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna. 133 laps complete of 200 in this afternoon's Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series race. Wilson Nito out front of Philip Kraus. Just coming off another caution, Mike Kitchell, screen failure, crashed out. And add that one to the list of cars joining the others in pit lane destroyed here, Finian, but we're running out of cars. We started with 33 down to 23 of them rolling, 24 rather. Now the next 50 laps, the key is to not join them.
Yeah, and also just want to point out too, you were talking about, keeping in it. Ray Kingsbury's fighting back for, I think, 32nd, 31st. He's only up in it. He'll be up in the 24th as soon as he gets past Kitchell. So it shows you just putting around here. It's buying him a lot of positions. So I'm sure he's going to be somewhat happy coming out here. He's probably going to actually hope that a lot more cars end up wrecking out. Maybe get a top 20 at the rate we're going at. But he's going to situate himself and get ready for the restart, as are the guys up in the front. We also had some slight difference in pit strategy too. Some guys 11th on back coming into top off on fuel. The rest staying out. They're a little bit iffy on fuel, because really right about now is when you would ideally want to come in. So it's going to be up in the air who's going to save the most fuel and who's going to make it.
Here we go. Wilson Nito out front, green flag. Couple cars swarming in the backdrop. Slow restart, and it's chaos back there.
Yeah, indeed it is. They're trying to sort themselves out. I think Kinsella actually might pick up a penalty, as Holloway was taking a little bit safe there. We'll see. It should be probably cleared by the Edmonds.
Getting a little bit messy back here, and this always makes me nervous right after a restart when everyone knows that they can make spots up. They don't want to sit in line when you can just go 3 wide and make a pass, and a lot of shuffling happening deeper in the field. That's Christopher in 10th, Kinsella to the inside in 11th, and Matt Holloway to his outside in 12th. Well, out front, Nito, Kraus, and now Demerit replaces Blocker in 3rd. So, how much fuel saving are you doing right now? Are you planning on fuel saving today, or are you just counting on this race having some more cautions?
I mean, these guys should know, again, if they do have a fuel calculator, or if they're just running the mental math in their head, if they're putting the car in a slightly lower slightly higher fuel map, try to save some gas, they'll be able to kind of gauge if they can make it now, or whether just to kind of push and worry about it later. And I think for the guys that they do have to end up making an extra pit stop, that's probably going to be wishing that they ended up coming down like a lot of these guys in behind. Pretty much the guys that came in on this stop, they're not completely good. They even have to do just a teeny bit of saving just to make sure they can make it to the end. But they're a lot better than the guys that ended up staying out, even though we did have some pacing and lap front under caution. They're not as good as some of the other guys.
Adam Blocker and Henry Bennett, for that matter, both got their cars repaired. With the slowness of the caution laps, they were actually able to stay on the lead lap, which is a miracle in itself.
Yeah, I think that's also saving grace too, that they're part of the group that came down on pit lane as that second time. So of that group, they're running 3rd and 4th. So So it might not be all doom and gloom for them.
Well, I mean, surprising. That was a pretty big mistake, and that could have ended their race, but they were able to get those cars repaired pretty easily. Lap 137 of 200. Matt Holliba popping out of line on Henry Bennett. And again, I told you this guy's going to finish inside the top 10, and he came all the way from the back, and it's taken him almost the entire race to get here. He was only 3 spots away.
Yeah, Henry Bennett also going up there, going in front of him, slowing him down, so that way Blocker can get the run by as well. So Blocker up into 13th, Holliba back to 14th, and Tanner Watkins also eyeing him up in just a little bit.
Matt Pavelski, another driver I said to keep an eye on, up into 5th. After running sort of in the mid-pack, beginning to make his name known up front. It seems like the strength of Wilson Nito has gotten stronger throughout the race. Philip Kraus doesn't seem quite as easily able to pass the 80 as he was earlier in the day.
Yeah, again, I'm also trying to take a look at these guys on the speed. So before, on the last run that we had, I was looking at Chris DeMare. We know he saved a lot of gas that first run. He was able to do 35 laps on a tank. And I think he definitely is the one that's going to be fuel saving, if anything. So on the last run, by the end of the straightaway, they were hitting 230 in the draft. He only just on the straightaway this time, I only hit 225. So I think he's definitely, and a lot of these guys too, a lot of them I think are in fuel saving mode. I think they feel that they can make it, but again, you have to start, if you're planning on it, you have to start saving now.
Is Wilson Nito saving anything out front? Doesn't look like it. Kraus,
no,
though, might be.
Yeah, when you're the car in front, you're it's really tough because, at least if you're the guy behind, turn the fuel man down, he goes to get off the gas, that helps quite a bit as well to save some gas. If you're up in front, you kind of still have to keep pushing, otherwise, you're just going to keep getting passed, or you're just going to be going slow in general. So I don't think he's saving at the moment. He's kind of has to just go out ahead. He's definitely going to be the one that has to come down first, I'll tell you that, because it looks like even Kraus, who we saw those guys constantly swap positions. He's willing to sit in behind. He wants to let Nito burn up the gas.
91 and 75 battle for 4th. As we come in close to 60 laps to go, and everyone's starting to set their calculators on fire with fast fingers right now as they try to figure out how much do I need to save and what position I need to be in to save that much. And or am I not going to save? Am I just going to run it out and come get a splash later, or do I just run it out and hope I get a caution, which could be likely.
Yeah, I think these guys have had all they want to avoid coming down pit road at all. This is going to cost us so much time. You're going to lose so many positions, especially considering there's a decent group of drivers that can make it, and there's also a decent group of drivers that can't. And that group that can't, they're kind of sweating, I imagine, a little bit, just constantly looking at the fuel calculators, hoping the numbers read out correctly and read out the numbers they want to see.
This is when being in a bigger team might be an advantage, is having already done all this math. You might have already figured out exactly what you can do and exactly what you need to do in any given scenario. If you're in a smaller team or you're all independent, you might not have the same resources in that department, and you're sort of playing crew chief, car chief, and driver all at once, and strategist, and that gets tiring really quickly, and that can distract you from what you need to be doing.
Yeah, and again, it isn't really so much the physical aspect of it. It's definitely, I think, more the mental aspect, as you mentioned, because especially in iRacing, you are a lot of times doing 4 different crew members' jobs would be in a normal race weekend. You can't just focus and drive. You have to figure out the strategy, figure out if you're good or not, and figure out what to do. So, while in real life, you have people that can do that for you. So, these guys, again, trying to figure it out. It's going to be taxing and just stressful, knowing if you're just on the verge of making it or if you're just not about to make it too. That can also be just very stressful, trying to get yourself in a place to make it. Otherwise, you're going to be facing losing a lot of spots.
So if you're Wilson Nito, you're leading this race and you know that you're burning up more fuel, how do you get out of this position? Or is he just kind of accepting that he has to lead this race and that he's going to pick up these laps led and maybe sacrifice fuel mileage in the short term?
I mean, I guess that's his only option. I mean, one of his other options is just to kind of pull down and just drop a spot or two, get himself back in the draft and start saving. But he's already burned up a decent amount of gas already. We're about halfway through a run, so I don't know. I don't really know what's in store for the number 8 car, but I think he's definitely going to be the worst off of the drivers that you have to really worry about saving.
Wilson Nito, Philip Kraus, Chris Demare at the top 3, Robert Malechka, Matt Pavelski, Andreas Eich, he's up to 6th. Maybe you heard me talking about him, saying that he was dropping backwards. He's begun to move back forward. So he started this race in 3rd, didn't last there very long, and quickly dropped outside of the top 5 and sort of hung out here for the majority of the race. Tonight, though, as he comes in as the points leader, I'm not sure that winning is the outright goal for Andreas Eich. He might not be in a position to win this race, but he could still leave here with a really good point situation if he finishes where he is.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of just looking at his fellow competitors. Adam Blocker is currently behind him. Philip Kraus, though, is right ahead of him again with the double points. That it's going to be losing a decent amount of points, but still, 6th place is going to be a very solid finish. And ideally, by the end of the night, if you can get ahead of Kraus and protect that points lead just a little bit better, as it's only 10 points separating the top 4 in the standings.
Matt Pavelski still in 5th. One eye on him, one eye up on the front as Wilson Nito comes on through. Now remember that Philip Kraus had led the most laps up to this point. Nito has now led 51, and Kraus has led 59. So you think Philip is going to, I mean, he doesn't know. He probably hasn't been calculating the numbers. But is there any urgency to lead the most laps in this race, or is that not a figure anybody cares about?
I don't think this is what they care about. But again, with the double points, and I'm assuming that the bonus points are doubled as well. You do get 2 points for leading the most lap, but I think Kraus is more worried about, again, just making to the end, because finishing the top 5 with your strategy working and then finishing past 15th because you had to come in an extra time. A lot of points available. I don't think he's going to be worth those extra 2-4 bonus points for leading the most. I don't think he's going to be worried about that at the moment.
Blink of an eye down the front straightaway, 222 miles an hour into turn 1, closing in on 50 laps to go for the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317 for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo in the Elite Series. You're watching Sim TV. Nito, Kraus, Demare, Malechka, Pavelski, 1 through 5. Matt Holliba in 14th. Again, the driver that started at the very tail of the field today sort of stalled here. I don't think he's done just yet.
He's been trying to work his way back forward, but he's been losing touch with Walker and even Tanner Walker. I'm just surprised that Watkins has not been able to work his way past. He's been also kind of stuck in behind Alba.
Tanner Watkins started this race 28th, so also a pretty extensive day. There's Andrew Wood in the 64. Haven't really seen a lot of him today. He's been lingering. Currently 16th.
Yeah, he dropped a little bit early on, dropped back to the later part of the top 10, and then got really kind of put out. Again, he's on that other strategy of looking a little bit better towards the end of this race. So expect him to get close to the front. It's really going to be all dependent on if the guys up in front, if they saved enough.
So looking at Wilson Nito here, he might be able to go another 10 laps at max. That would bring him to lap 158. That's still 42 laps to the end, and there's no way you can make that.
Yeah, he's really caught in between a rock and a hard place. Not too much he can do. These guys are going to have to be trying to aim for around lap 166, 165 is where you're really going to start pushing it to the upper parts of the limit without really saving. I mean, if you can do hypermile, may be able to squeeze another lap or two. But around 165 is really kind of the cutoff you can make and you can't make it. So we'll have to see as they get closer and closer who's looking good and who's looking not. Because I was kind of curious about how many guys came in, but I think they're probably sitting a lot more pretty. Because if they can't make it, these guys up the front definitely can.
Is anybody planning on trying to make it? I'm sure there are, but it still seems like a pretty big reach. I think there's a lot more drivers that are banking on a caution flag to help them out.
I think that's what a lot of these guys up in the front are probably kind of keeping their fingers crossed and hoping for, just to reset everyone, because it's looking at lap after lap like they might be on the short end of the stick. They might have to come in a second time, and that's going to throw all the races out of whack with the way behind the leaders.
And the problem with waiting for a caution is that they usually happen pretty late in the run when the tires start to burn off. So it's not like you can, expect to get one next lap. It's going to happen maybe 8 to 9 laps from now. We might have the risks start to increase as the tires begin to wear out and drivers start to make mistakes on them. 50 laps to go this time through.
Pavelski looking a little bit racing behind once he gets past
Malechka. 90. Oh, there he goes. Pavelski spins. Crashes.
Hard to the wall. Is he going to spin? It's going to be caution.
Wow, and that is not something that I expected to see. Matt Pavelski was one of my picks to win this race, and he's crashed. Well, there goes your strategy.
Yep.
That was a surprise. That all happened so fast. He was looking aggressive and maybe just lost patience here a bit, but looks to the inside and just has a lot of wheel in the car, and it just steps out, and he just can't unstick it into the fence.
Yeah, and again, just by playing with the settings, just having an inch of wheel too much into it. There's so many factors that can go into this, but I guess at the end of the day, it was driving a little bit too aggressive and aggressive on around.
Yeah, and hard into the safer barrier, and thankfully didn't go back into traffic. But Matt Pavelski's night will likely be over. Kraus, Nito, Demerit, Malechka, and now Andreas Eich, your top 5. And now everyone is in full fuel save mode because are they going to pit now? This is the question.
I think they're going to pit because a lot of them would have to come in within the next 10 laps. I'm kind of looking at. So I would imagine a lot of these guys are going to pit because either way, I think they're probably going to have to maybe make one stop. But be surprised. Who knows? We see quite a few surprises in this race.
If you pit now, you basically flip the the 2 equal runs. And, no, you split this into 2 runs of just under 25 laps apiece. I don't hate that strategy. Who stayed out? That was
Watkins.
Watkins.
Yeah. He's got a few friends.
Basically, Tanner Watkins stayed out.
So this is an interesting call because I think with this caution, I don't think fuel's the concern. That being said, though, when they come in, you don't have a pack to work with. You only got a few cars, and this is gonna be really intriguing to watch. So Tanner Watkins, Andrew Wood, Matt Kingsbury staying out and AJ Burton, also want to throw him in there. It's the top 4 staying out. Everyone else has come down, and they're definitely good. And I can also say with confidence, the guys up in front, they're also probably looking good to the end of the race.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the fact they're going to be coming in. But remember what we did see on the last run? We saw, sorry, it wasn't the last run, on a previous run, where we saw a different group of guys come in after it was like about 5, I think it was like 7 to 10 lap differential between when one group came in and the other group came in. And nothing really happened. There wasn't really much of a change position, maybe a position or 2. And I think maybe these guys might be sitting pretty here because they're leading this race. They're going to come in. They have a shot again if they don't lose too much time by themselves to potentially put themselves back up in front.
Yeah, this is confusing. I'm strategy
like
man.
This is gonna be interesting. I just see if these guys can maintain their positions up in front.
Well, all I know is this: is that we've mixed things up a little bit. Now, again, we didn't get. I know, so scientific. We didn't get the cautions I expected after that previous caution. I think now we're going to light the candle and it's all going to explode. I think the urgency is going to rise. I think the intensity of the next 45 laps is going to bring out a couple more caution flags, and I think fuel is going to be a moot point. I think surviving to the end of this race is going to be what's important, and it's not a multi-car crash I'm worried about. It's just worried about people spinning out on their own.
AJ Burton, not sure if he's getting cold feet or just planning on coming the second time by. He's going to come into pit lane, so he's only the top 3 to be out on old tires, and everyone else behind on new tires after just coming in.
1 to green here for the Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317. Tanner Watkins, Andrew Wood, Matt Kingsbury, top 3 staying out. This always makes me nervous on older tires, Finney, and this never typically works in the NASCAR stock car stuff. So are we concerned that this can lead to a mess here?
No, I don't think so. After what we've seen, these guys, the tires really have not been wearing out a lot. Typically, after a decent amount of runs on them, a decent amount of running on them, before it used to be pretty bad, but so far we've seen these guys, they've been able to drive pretty well in behind one another, even on in the later parts of a run. So maybe they can drop a position or two with the guys being able to use the tires to their advantage. They still have slight advantage. Will it be enough to just blow by them? I don't think so.
Lap 155 will be our restart lap. It'll be 46 laps to go. Everyone will need to pit one more time. Now it's just a matter of when you make that stop, really. Now you've got a little bit more flexibility now because you're going to have to make a stop, but we're not stretching both runs super thin. You have a little bit of flexibility now.
Well, the guys in behind, dude, these guys have to pit by lap 160.
Right.
If they have to make it to around 165, 166. Everyone else, yeah, they definitely have that flexibility.
Well, they made their bed. Now they got to lay in it. Flag being exchanged for the green. Tanner Watkins in the 24 is in control of the race. 46 laps to go. And green flag back in the air, racing again from Indianapolis. Nice orderly restart. Tanner Watkins, Andrew Wood, Kingsbury get away clean. Then Nito, Demerit, Kraus. 4, 5, 6. Notice Andreas Ike is right back in the mix again.
Wow, Nito did not get going at all. There's already a big gap, but he's going to get a big run, though, and as everyone starts to close back in on one another.
How about Riley Thompson climbing up inside top 10? Talked about him a little earlier. I didn't think he was going to be in position to really win this thing, but look where he is. He's in a pretty decent position, in all honesty. I'm not sure that we've seen the strength to say that he could win, but he's certainly showing that he's going to be a top 5 driver. Wood and Watkins battling for the top spot.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to protect themselves, slingshot on one another. Similar to what we saw the teammates doing earlier. They're just trying to build up and keep a gap to the guys in behind as much as they can. It's going to be tough to do so here. We're already looking now as Nito's working on Matt Kingsbury in behind, as he's also struggling a little bit to keep touch with Wood.
Yeah, Nito needs to get by the 21 car ASAP as those front two are going to continue to swap and try to drive away, save some more fuel and put themselves in a better spot. Demerit running a little higher up the racetrack again, trying to stay out of the aero wash. Nito, though, is unable to get back to the tailpipes of the 21.
Yeah, Kingsbury is pretty effectively in the draft of the guys up ahead, so you really can't get that extra draft as Kingsbury's also closing in back on the top two. Demerit running way out of lane.
Yeah, Nito ran up a little higher, and I think that kind of rattled Demerit because he wasn't able to get the downforce on the nose. That opens the door for Philip Kraus.
And he aggressively works the inside lane. We see how they're seeing quite a few guys hook it and spin, but Kraus start looking pretty good. There's Demerit pulling out of line, going to be side by side with Nito in turn 3.
I think there's no love lost between these two now. I think that was a little, Nito just ran up the racetrack to keep Demerit behind him, and that was probably a frustrating move from Demerit's perspective. And they'll single file back out. Come on, guys, work together. We've still got a long way to go. Or just tear each other at the throat and wreck each other. That too.
I think Demerit's realizing he wants to try to get past Nito, because these guys, the top 3, they're going to have to come in on the next few laps, and he's going to go back to Nito. But it's not even going to matter. Here goes Phil Kraus back up to the front, and the Starcross Flubbers have found.
Oh, they're going to crash.
Oh, no!
Oh, man. And Demerit and Nito, their heads get hot, and they crash. The Adam Blocker's involved. And that was all frustration boiling over there, Finian. Nito was holding up the 144 by running his lane and let the 19 car by, and that's what caused that crash, and 2 of the strongest cars today are crashed. Yeah, Nito again, he picks a lane in front of the 144 to let the 19 car through.
Yeah, and then he didn't exit as high out of the corner, which I think caught Kraus way off guard.
Yeah, I think that the 80 wanted to be behind the 19 so that when the driver's in front pit, he'd be in behind in the draft. I think that it was a strategy call here, but Demerit got stuck in behind. And then as Demerit comes off the corner, he drifts up and then contacts the 80, and then they just get hooked together. What a mess. 2 of the strongest cars. This was a pretty unnecessary crash. And Nito's really pedaling it to let this situation occur. Let's get an onboard from Adam Crane, who got a pretty good view of this south of Hobart. I don't know what to think about that one.
Yeah, this is a really weird. I also want to take a look at what happened to Blocker. I'm curious how he ended up going spinning.
Yeah, I think he just got tagged as a result. We're going to go back and take a look, but I think he just got tagged.
Oh!
Was there more?
He got ran into, was that Joe Branch? No, Adam Dock ran into him.
Let's go back a little farther.
And actually, Adam Dock's car's fine.
The car behind him. That is Adam Dock.
So you're going to see Blocker comes down in the inside lane. He's going to start slowing down. And then Doc also comes flying on through, clips him in the right rear.
Wow, that is some netcode if I've ever seen it. Yeah, Doc's car's fine. Blocker got the short end of the stick there, and that'll likely be the end of the day, unfortunately. Man, that was a brutal wreck. Not sure that it needed to happen. It was just, I think it was Nito just overthinking it maybe, Finney, and he was just trying to manipulate the positioning of his race car, and it just kind of got in the way.
Yeah, he really did. He exited off a lane lower out of the corner, and when you have guys constantly coming out to the same lane every single time, Kraus is just not expecting that. You typically kind of have an idea of where guys are going to end up, and he came out like a lane and a half lower, and Kraus has ended up making contact with him. So it sucks to really see such good cars get taken out of the race.
Yeah, Demerit, you mean, making contact.
Demerit, sorry, yes.
Yep, Kraus slid through and is now the leader of that group. And if you're looking at and picking a driver to win this race, I think you got to look squarely at this driver right here. The two
I picked him earlier.
You did, and it's working out in your favor because, remember, Kraus and Nito were trading spots for the lead dozens of times, and now he's out, and Kraus is not. So he's probably the strongest car left.
Also of note, no one has come down to pit lane, including the guys up in front, because they know they need to hit their number. And even though it's only going to be about 5-6 laps from now, they're going to try to hit their number as much as they can.
Well, this has been a wild one. 40 laps to go. We're probably going to get a restart with 39. Thoughts on strategy? What you expect out of the front runners and the other ones behind them?
I think it's going to be really tough to tell. I really think the top three, they pick something good. We've seen it be hard to pass. It's pretty much been a story of getting most of your passing done on their pit road. You can pass a few cars on the track, yeah, but really pit road's probably the best place you can pass. And I think a lot of those guys, looking at Watkins, Wood, Kingsbury, they're running around 14th, 15th, 16th before they made the call to stay out, 2 cautions go. And I think that might, if not a race-winning move, is probably going to buy at least one of those cars the top 5 after being near the top 15. So I think it's still going to be a gain regardless of where these guys end up. It could potentially be a race-winning move amongst them.
So 39 laps to go. That's about 25 minutes worth of racing. You're watching Sim TV. Don't go anywhere. This week coming up, we've got Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series action. They're headed off to Dover, the Monster Mile on Tuesday. Wednesday is the return of the DC Region Virtual Racing League headed to Summit Point with Mazda MX-5s and Ford Mustangs. Thursday will be off this week. And then we'll be back with you on, well, I guess we'll be back with you the following Tuesday for Las Vegas and Fuel. Looks like, come to the green here, just a reminder of what's happening. With the Outsider Racing League, they've got GSRC broadcasting their race at Talladega next week, because I'll be gone, which is exciting for them. They get a new broadcaster in there, as we'll be stepping away from a bunch of the leagues we've been working with for several years at the end of their current season schedules. Tanner Watkins, Andrew Wood, Kingsbury, Kraus, Ike, the top 5. 39 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. Kraus pops out of line. Here comes Wood in the 64 with a run.
And also a poor restart from Matt Kingsbury. He's trying to keep Kraus in behind. He's able to keep him off by the time he gets to turn number 1. Yeah, Wood and Watkins, I'm curious to see if they're going to be working together. They don't need to do it for nearly as long. Pretty much by the time everyone gets close back together, they're going to be making a trip down back on a pit lane.
And Kingsbury trying to hold off Kraus for the time being. Keep him slowed up as best they can. Yeah, these drivers in front, the front 3, are trying to get themselves in a position to go on fuel to the end. Everybody needs to make one more stop. Here comes Watkins out to driver's left, and here comes the 19 of Kraus to the inside of Kingsbury. That'll be for 3rd.
And Kingsbury's going to have to yield. Like Kraus has got way too good a run off of turn 4. So Kraus now up into P3. And now looking at the top 2 up ahead.
Riley Thompson right behind Andreas Ike and Kingsbury. And Kingsbury's getting buried here. He's got to be careful because he's going to have to hit pit lane. And if he's in traffic, this could get kind of sketchy.
Yeah, and ideally, too, he doesn't want to lose too much time to the guys up in front of him as well. Because those guys he's going to be racing as well on this strategy. And he's looking to be placed out by quite a long shot as Watkins going to continue to get a run on wood. They've been making this work for quite a bit. Kraus right up in behind him.
Clouds come over the speedway and cooling off the asphalt as well, so keep in mind that the track might be gripping up towards the end of this race. Might allow for some spicier moves as we get down to the last couple laps. Ike and Thompson getting real aggressive back here for 5th.
Yeah, 113 degrees is the current track temp. It's on the lower end of what we've seen all day. See a run going to peek out as well to the inside. Not quite able to get done. And they're losing a little bit of time here.
Lap 165. Next time by will be 35 laps to go. That's on the upper end of the fuel window if you are really saving. So probably two more laps for these guys up front, you think?
Yeah, they're going to try to go as long as they can, but I imagine they're going to want to at least go 2 more laps. If they even pit this lap, they're going to be looking pretty, but definitely want to go that extra lap just to make sure he can make, because I definitely think they're going to want to be fuel saving on the last run. That's when everyone's going to be going for it.
Don't put yourself in too tight of a box. Leave yourself some options. Look at it. Comes the Stouffer and Andrew Kinsella machine. Andrew Kinsella have been pretty quiet today. Around the bottom half of the top 10. Making waves here in the closing moments. You've got Stouffer just to his left side. Adam Crane in the 34 up the road. He's got 1 win on the season back in Barber, round 3.
So offset there, you see Wood leaving down the front stretch a little bit.
And Watkins letting the 19 car go by.
I think both these guys are planning to come in, I think.
Yeah. Are they going to peel off? No, they're going to go in. No. Now they're just in the draft, just maybe save some more fuel.
Yeah, I guess they decided to just let Kraus get up in front, just let him do the heavy lifting, just kind of right in behind.
Big push there. Look at Matt Kingsbury holding up the train just a touch.
Car got on the wall. Not sure who it was exactly. It looked like a bluish car.
Get a good look at it. Here's Riley Thompson.
It was Chris Stouffer that tagged the wall a little bit. Not sure if he got a lot of damage out of it, but just no.
Don't see anything on the left side, obviously. We just got it with the right. Must have been minor. No major damage that I can see. Here comes Andrew Wood out to driver's left to get back by Philip Kraus. Closing in on 30 laps to go. Everyone can make it from here as soon as they pit.
Yeah, I think this is them just going a little bit extra. I'm sure that caution definitely bought them a lap or 2, or probably 2 or 3, more like it. So they're kind of running it out as much as they can so they can just be full tilt towards the end. And especially if they can keep their constant back and forth going, I think that might help them potentially keep back up in front when they have to come in. There we go.
Here they come. Well, Wood all by himself. That's interesting. Watkins will stay with Kraus.
It's surprising there.
That is definitely a surprise. I would have thought for sure they'd come together.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be too, there shouldn't be too mismatched. I don't think it's really going to buy either one time. They should just find each other a lap later. But a bit surprising they didn't come in together, considering it looked like they were working together so well.
Off into turn 3. Andreas Ike right to the tailpipes of Kingsbury. Thompson had been launching an assault on Andreas Ike, but wasn't able to really ever hit pay dirt. Never could finish the pass.
Watkins now coming in.
Last stop of the night for Tanner Watkins.
And Matt Kingsbury also just coming on the radio. He's coming in this lap.
Next time by will be 30 laps to go. Philip Kraus in clean air all on his own.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Once Matt Kingsbury peels off, Ike is looking to be just outside the draft range, so I'm curious to see if he's going to still be able to catch back up to Kraus, or Kraus might be able to hold on to a lead by himself here.
.30 laps to go. Do we see it?
Almost saw one there. Sorry, Kingsbury had a little bit of a bobble as he was traveling the inside lane. Saw the car wiggle.
I love how you knew exactly what I was about to say. Are we going to see a caution before the end of this race, do you think? Oh, and as I say that, I hear a crash, and it's Andrew Wood.
Oh, no.
That is the ultimate commentator curse. I am so sorry.
Oh, man.
Wow. Andrew Wood, fresh out of the pits. Leaving. Whoa.
Oh, what? That was...
Wow. That was peculiar, to say the least.
Yeah. Huh. He had control over the car. I was just looking at it myself. I mean, he's kind of... just mistimed it?
I mean... that's a tough one.
I'm trying to give him benefit of the doubt, but I just don't, like, he just made a miscalculation, I think. Just went up into the wall.
It just made everybody else's lives really easy because now we just pit here and the race is just a sprint to the end.
Yeah, I'm sure, though, for both Watkins and Kingsbury, they're going to be slamming their dashboard because that just ruined their strategies.
Yes. Well, Kingsbury's still on the lead lap. He just pit, right?
Oh, yeah, both of them are on the lead lap, but they're all the way in the back now.
Right, but everyone else is going to pit.
What's that?
Everyone else is going to pit, so they're going to get their
Oh,
spot.
snap. You're right.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. That's the PG version. Family-friendly channel.
Oh, man.
Actually, yeah, so... Huh.
Wow.
Okay, maybe they'll be thanking Andrew Wood.
What is so weird? All right, okay, so we're at lap 172 at 200. We've got 20 minutes left in this race. Philip Kraus leads the way. Everyone's going to hit pit lane except for Tanner Watkins and Matt Kingsbury because they just pit. Everyone can make it to the end on fuel from here. Tires, fuel, go. I mean, this is basically as straightforward as it gets. This 200-lap race is now a 25-lap race, essentially.
Yep, and interesting to see if anyone's going to pull any shenanigans down a pit lane, try to gain some sort of position.
My worry is that we're going to see a lot of shuffling here as people try to gain time, but it seems pretty calm, cool, and collected for the time being. Oh, man. We are definitely about to witness the most chaotic 25 laps, I think, in Indy Elite's history. I mean, it's fully gloves off now. I mean, a restart with 25 laps to go. Everyone's on the same strategy. There's no funny business. It's straight-up racing, and it's probably going to be straight-up collisions as well if people aren't careful. But it's so consequential.
Ooh, Riley Thompson.
Great pit stop for the 56. Going to come out right behind Philip Kraus. Well, tell you what, we are in for a treat. Matt Hollibuck comes out 11th.
Also, note who's the leader. It's not Watkins. It's AJ Burton.
I don't think AJ Burton can make it on the end from here. He's got 13 laps on that tank of fuel.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think for some reason I thought this is something interesting, but yeah, no, he's gonna have to come back in.
Yeah, even with
unless he decides to stay out, which would be a very interesting call.
Well, again, remember what I said earlier? I said if we have less than 25 laps to go, which we're just outside that, and I would not. I mean, maybe it's wise not to do this because if we go green and we get caution and another caution, we could just end this race under yellow. I mean, I think we're a little far away from that being a possibility, but I don't hate this idea. Burton wasn't going to win the race otherwise. Why not give it a try?
Yeah, might as well, right? I mean, you only have a chance at this race once a year. So we'll see. Doesn't look like he's going to come back in, so he's going to stay out. So, yeah, he's going to be committed to this.
Yeah, again, I don't hate this just because the opportunity is there to lead some laps. If this race goes green to the end, he's screwed. But if this race gets a couple of cautions quickly, he might be in better shape than we think. One to green. Trevor Greenfield going to get a wave around here. So the official order A.J. Burton, Tanner Watkins, Matt Kingsbury, Philip Kraus, Riley Thompson, Andreas Ike, Adam Crane, Chris Stouffer, Henry Bennett, and Robert Malechka. Those are your top 10. Then it's Holliba, Ench, Branch, Musselman, and Downing, the rest of your top 15. Then Kinsella, Nito, Adam Dock, Greenfield, and Blocker, the rest of your top 20. Wilson Nito is repaired and on the lead lap at 17th.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to make really anything happen from that far back, but we'll see if he can try to pull something out, make it work.
17th to first in 25 laps would be nothing short of a miracle.
He's got to do something like Dale Earnhardt. He's got to do Dale Earnhardt better. At least it was Talladega with a stock car.
I don't think
much easier to do.
Other than passing the leader a whole bunch of times, I don't think Nito really ever had to be in traffic though. So
yeah, that's also true. Yeah, we have not seen this car on the back of the field like this. So
he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him. And I don't think we've seen anybody really accomplish passing at that frequency. Now remember, I mentioned Matt Holliba. He started dead last. He's made 22 spots. It took him 174 laps to get there, though.
Better late than never. We'll see if he can make anything else happen up here near the front. He can break just as he's just outside the top 10.
The Indianapolis 500, presented by Catalyst 317, has 26 laps to go for the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. Burton, Watkins, Kingsbury, Kraus, Riley Thompson, your top 5. Time to go racing for the Indy 500. 26 laps to go. Burton, Watkins, Kingsbury, green flag back in the air. Bit dicey back there deeper in the field. A.J. Musselman right in the mix of it right there. Oop, that's John Downing, middle 3 wide for a moment.
And already up in the front, Watkins immediately blowing past, and same thing with Kingsbury and the rest as they're all vying for a position here. You're talking about gloves off, they're definitely off as Kingsbury's trying to make something happen on the outside. Couldn't get it done. Kraus also clearing Burton. Burton actually just dropping back now.
Watkins to the top spot, Kingsbury to second, Kraus to third. He took him 4 wide for a moment on the backstretch. Wasn't able to do much more with it. Now in the slipstream here on the front stretch, going to move right. So does Kingsbury to the outside, door to door, or I guess side pod to side pod through turn 1. 25 to go.
Wheel to wheel with inches between them. Kingsbury rocking that outside lane we've seen work quite well, but remember, Tanner Watkins is in clean air on that inside lane, which should theoretically be better, but Kingsbury getting a slight run out of the corner. It's a drag race effectively between these two.
Look how strong Kraus is in the slipstream here. But I don't like being third, I like being second. He's got to pass somebody to do it. Right on the inside apex. Whoa, that got close at the corner exit. 21 Kingsbury with a run. Here comes Kraus. They're going to take him 3 wide, I think. Here they come.
Yeah, imagine that was at the line.
Kingsbury falls, well, I guess stays second. Watkins first to third. Here's Riley Thompson. He wants in on the party. I don't know if he could drink champagne at the end of the night, but good thing they serve milk.
Kraus taking him to the grass. Kingsbury going to try to work the outside lane. He's almost clear by the time we get to turn 3.
Kingsbury trying to hold him tight on that outside groove. Philip Kraus, the reigning champion of the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series, trying to get an Indy 500 victory. Was not able to do it last year. He crashed out on lap number 25. Tonight he could do it. He's led the most laps. He's been the most dominant car of anybody other than Wilson Nito, who has gone nowhere on the restart. Kingsbury's hanging tough on that outside groove like a gnat in the ear of Philip Kraus.
I think he's just kind of testing the water to see how viable that outside lane is getting her on. Again, this is if you're going to start experimenting, you want to try to do it now.
Oh, that got really close. Kingsbury almost to the right rear tire. Tanner Watkins going to build a run here as these two side draft. Joe Branch hits pit lane from 19th spot. Not sure what that's all about.
Oh, he actually retired. He's got big damage. He actually crashed in turn 2. Oh, and with Kinsella as well. Kinsella out of the race.
Oh, man, that's a heartbreaker for the only reigning Indy 500 champion in the field.
Wow. I'm amazed they didn't have a caution. They had a pretty big impact.
Kingsbury and Kraus not leaving a whole lot of racing room. Lap 180 of 200. Still side by side down the front stretch. Where did Matt Kingsbury come from? Started this race all the way back in 16th place, was never really a factor, and strategy got him to the front here. But he's holding Kraus pretty tight. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, I think he's trying to force the issue here, see how much he can force him down the inside lane, choke his run off the corner, then kind of just peek ahead here. He's just barely ahead by about half a car length heading into turn 3.
How long can they run side by side like this on these tires? Will they give out? Will he understeer? Will Kraus understeer into Kingsbury and wipe out everybody?
I don't think so. I don't think he's really going to be facing a whole lot of understeer up in the front of the field, especially with the way some tires were. I think if anything, he's just gonna be a matter of making sure he doesn't come too high off the corner by himself. Kind of similar to what we saw with Demerit and Nito.
20 laps to go this time by. Kraus and Kingsbury still lead this field. Watkins sitting in third. What's the urgency? Is there urgency for Watkins to do anything with these two?
No, pretty much no. I think he might be just sitting here planning on getting a nice run through 3 and then out of 4 and then trying to make a 3 wide at the line and hope it works. So that's what I try to do. I came just a few hundredths of a second short of first place and ended up finishing second. We'll see if Watkins may have a better time with that. For Kingsbury, I'm curious if he'll try something similar to that, because it seems when he ducks in behind out of turn between turns 1 and 2, gets a little bit of draft and is able to be past him by the time they're halfway down the back straightaway.
Kraus clears the 21. The Kingsbury says, no thanks. I'll get some overlap again on the back straightaway. Right rear tire to left front on the Kingsbury car. Side drafts up alongside Watkins in third place, watching and waiting. 18 to go this time through.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. We'll see here if he's actually gonna let Kraus get clear here, and he's gonna duck behind. He's gonna a little bit of slipstream. He probably got a guy a little bit more, but gonna continue down the straight nonetheless. But yeah, I'm curious to see if Watkins is just planning on sitting behind, waiting for that last corner pass, or if he's gonna try something else a little bit beforehand, try to get himself in front of Kingsbury and then have his own way with Kraus.
I'm keeping my eye on Andreas Eichen, the 76 car. Came in tonight as the points leader. He did not get there by accident. Was never a factor in this race, but now he's in the top 5 with 18 laps to go. He's putting himself in position, but I think you got to be first or second on the last lap. I don't think you can win from third, not the way that these cars have been racing tonight. So Tanner Watkins and Andreas Eichen have to make a decision now. Where do I place my car? How do I race the two in front of me so that I don't bring someone else behind into the mix? And how do I not let the leader get away?
It's going to be tough, and actually the point there was very close. Let's take a look at the gap. 0.06 of a second was the gap between Kingsbury and Kraus. They're very close together out of turn 1. Inches
Between the two front runners now as we head onto the back straightaway. Speeds climbing over 220 miles an hour. Gone in the blink of an eye down the backstretch. And it's really only a 9-car grouping here at the front. It's 4.2 back to Adam Dock in 10th. So I would venture to say that your 2021 Indy 500 presented by Catalyst 317 race winner is probably going to come from this group of 9.
Yeah, and even more specifically, probably more likely the top 4, unless one of the guys in behind gets a really good runner, is just able to cut through the rest of this order. But they're also running out of time to start moving to the front with 15 laps to go.
Tense moments between Kraus and Kingsbury. Right now, they're making this look really easy, but I assure you it is not. The slightest miscalculation, the slightest mistake could crash these cars at 220, and it could wipe out every lap of racing that they've done since about 7:15 Eastern time, 10 o'clock now on the East Coast. "15 laps to go. Kraus goes defensive.
There's really nothing more Phil Kraus can do really than just keeping that inside line. That is going to be the best lane for him to be in. And trying to make Kingsbury come up with something, some way to pass him.
Kraus keeps going low. Kingsbury seems comfortable running up high. Which lane would you rather be in?
I'd definitely rather be low as much as possible, but that being said, being in behind, it gives Kingsbury an option to try to get a run out of the... I think his bet's going to be similar to Watkins, is trying to get a run out of that final corner. He worked pretty well in the backstretch. You see out of turn 4. Didn't even have to pull back in behind for the slip. He's going to be out just about half a car length ahead at the line.
That's what matters. Can he clear him, though? Not quite. Into turn 1. Still only about a foot between them. And also think about the limitations we have here at iRacing, Finney, the speed of light. How far away are Kraus and Kingsbury in the real world? Is there a net code to worry about? The prediction code that iRacing uses to ensure that all the action is done in real time.
I would really hope not.
The slightest miscalculation of that code can lead to ghost contact that can end your race, and these guys are trusting it way too much. And a touch!
Oh. And Kingsbury also crashed out of turn 4. Caution out.
And the two front runners collide, and with 13 laps to go, all of Philip Kraus's work is going to go to waste. That car will limp back to pit road in pieces.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow as well.
Oh, just missed the start of this. Let's go back and see exactly how it all began. Now, he had just cleared the 21 into turn 4, and I think Kingsbury's just going to go. Yeah, this is on Kingsbury here, Finney, and you just get in there and just took him out. And
yeah, there's not much of an argument there going the other way.
Yeah, it's a frustrating circumstance. Again, you have to be perfect to get through this without crashing, and for one moment, Kingsbury wasn't perfect. I mean, maybe you could argue that Kraus left the door open, but no. I just don't think that there's a hole there, and that was, for me, that's on the 21.
I mean, the way IndyCar racing works, yes, there is a gap there, but you can't just throw it to the inside like that when you know someone's going to be there. This type of racing is so much off of predicting where the other car is going to be, and especially too, it's very tough. But he just did not have enough. If it was overlap, that would have been probably more on Kraus, but he just kind of threw it in there.
The other thing is we still have 13 laps to go. If this is on the final lap, I sort of get it, but still, I mean, this is not the move that's going to win you the race, and I just think that was a poor choice of action there for the 21.
Yeah, and just like that, another 2 race cars are going to be effectively taken out of the running.
Wow. And almost took out, was that Adam Dock there that he almost clobbered as well? Well, Tanner Watkins has put himself in position, and look who is here.
Look at our top 3 now.
Wow, this is Tanner Watkins out front. Andreas Eich comes into the night as the points leader, and Riley Thompson. Man, this kid, he has not been much of a factor this season, and I didn't think he was going to be tonight, but my mistake, because look where he is running.
I mean, I hate to finish first. He was first finish. He's been keeping that car clean and out of dangerous way the entire race. He's been slowly moving up the field. And more importantly, too, he's been making the right strategy calls to just inch his way forward. And so he's finding himself in 3rd place here with a chance to win. Just over 10 laps to go. I mean, it's going to be tough to tell if he's got enough car left to make it work. But, I mean, I think 3rd is definitely reasonable to try to make something happen.
Of the front runners, of the top 5, there's only one driver here that has won a race, and we're looking at him. That's Adam Crane. He won at Barber Motorsports Park. These two tracks could not be more different. But he's 4th. We haven't talked about him a lot. And given how chaotic the front has been, wouldn't count him out. I like Andreas Eich. He's been quiet. He's been consistent. And we know that Andreas Eich doesn't really make mistakes. He's from Scandinavia. I don't know if they make mistakes in Scandinavia. I think they're just perfect people. So I think Andreas Eich is in position. If he could get by Tanner Watkins and outsmart Riley Thompson, Andreas Eich could win this race. And it would be his first win of the season, even though he's leading the points and has more top 5s than anybody else.
Or he finishes 3rd or 5th time. Which I really wouldn't hope for, because that is just rotten luck at that point.
That would be absolutely brutal. Well, we are going to have probably, 10 laps to go in the Indy 500, presented by Catalyst 317. All right, time to re-predict a winner, because both our picks are crashed out.
Who was your pick? I don't remember.
Wilson Nito, and he's back in 13th. Oh. He's doing better than your pick.
That's true. Can't argue with that.
Yep. Mine was the first to crash, though, so maybe that's indicative of my choice. But of the front 5, we've got Watkins, Ike, Thompson, Crane, and Stouffer. Pick me a winner and why.
No, just because I want to. I'll pick Riley Thompson. I want to pull for him.
Riley Thompson is your pick. I'm going to pick...
Were you going to pick Thompson?
My heart says Andreas Ike, but my brain says Tanner Watkins. I think he's put himself in this spot for a reason, and I think he's going to go out there and win this race. He's led 12 laps this race. He started back in 28th. Not a lot of points to say that he would be the best driver to pick, but I'm going to pick him.
I mean, honestly, his car's been pretty decent.
He's also leading the race, so I guess he's not doing that bad.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, really props to him. That was a great call between himself winning Kingsbury. That was definitely the right call to make. Put all those cars up near the front, fortunately for Wood, and it didn't work out, and even for Kingsbury, too. It didn't end up. It worked out over the short run, but wasn't able to continue to this point. But Watkins, the one car left of those 3 cars that pulled that strategy, it definitely worked out. We'll see if he can get it done, though, with that call.
The Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. It's a 10-lap shootout in the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. Green flag, 25 miles left in the Indianapolis 500. Andreas Ike is not going to waste any time. He's going to slipstream right on by. Here he goes. Ike tastes the lead for the first time since the early moments of this race. Riley Thompson creeps into the picture.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we just didn't see Tanner Watkins defend the inside lane at all. And I'm curious if that's on purpose or if not. If he wanted to put himself back in a position again from the second place position while you're not leading, you have a chance to do exactly that. Try to get a draft out of the final corner and get a run to the line. That time is a little bit short, but he actually doesn't even worry about that. Just slings shots on past and up into the lead.
If we get a caution with 4 laps to go or less, the race will be over. But Tanner Watkins decisively took the lead that time. Andreas Ike backs him up a little bit. I don't think he's close enough to have a run at him before turn 3. Maybe just planning now.
You have to see, and we'll have to see if that's going to be a factor. Remember, last year, our 500 ended under caution. So that could also... Oh!
Caution. John Downing, crash.
Bit sooner than I would have thought.
Yeah, we've been really unlucky calling those today, aren't we? Every time we mention the word, they just happen, so I gotta stop talking about it. This was back here, right in front of...
yeah, down in turn 3.
Is there contact maybe from, is that Inch?
I'm not sure who it is, but it's definitely the car that hit him.
It is Dan Inch. Oh, man. Oh. That wasn't really a shining moment either.
Yeah, this is a tough one because again, you can get the spotter call that that someone's to the left of you, but you don't hear how much, and you could argue probably could have been lower down the track, and I'm sure that's where Downing was expecting him to be.
Yeah, looking at this again, I mean, when you go off into the corner, I mean, I think Downing he's leaving plenty of space. I mean, looking at what that's a full maybe car width and a half, and all this space is, Downing probably should be minimum or highest up about here, but. It's hard to look at that and say that that's exactly what should have happened, but Downing is out, and we'll get another reset here. And Tanner Watkins will have to survive another restart.
And I'm curious to see if he's going to decide to maybe pull back in second or stay out in the lead, because really both can work. It really depends on the run that the guys in behind you get off that final corner. You can be the leader, you're a sitting duck, but you have a better chance of getting back to the line. You got to just hope that the guys getting a run on you get too poor of a run to beat you to that line, which is really where it's going to come down to. So, I don't know, it's really a toss-up between these top 3.
So when we get this restart, it's going to be about 5
It's going to be the last restart.
Yeah, it will be definitely the last restart. If we get a caution, the race will be over after this next restart. Otherwise, to get to the safe zone, we have to get to the white flag, and I don't think we're actually in the safe zone until all the cars are packed up and on their way back home to the virtual race shops, because I think even coming to the bricks, it's going to be an all-out mayhem and a scrap. Watkins and Ike, though, have pretty good records in terms of car contact. Riley Thompson is hoping that they invalidate those clean records today and have a bit of a spat, as the kids say.
Yeah, problem is, though, he's going to be hoping if they do have a spat, it's going to be out of his way, because he's going to be right in behind them as well. Doesn't want to be involved in that. Or a victim. Just
to clarify, definitely no green-white checkers. This is just straight up 200 laps. We are on lap 194 of 200. There's Adam Crane in 4th. Christopher in 5th. Matt Hollaba still just outside. I said he was going to finish top 10, so he better get at least one spot, just so I was right about something today, other than calling cautions right before they happen. That seems to be a weird skill I've acclimated today. This is one of those Zen moments. Finian, is this one of those moments where you're just silent and you don't say anything on the radio? You're just focusing, or is everyone chatting and having a good time anticipating a blast?
I'll tell you what's happening, especially for maybe guys like Riley Thompson. Where you don't expect to be anywhere up near the front of this race. You're trying to stay calm. You're working your breathing, but your heart's about to jump out of your chest. It's probably going around 200 beats per minute, because you realize you have a shot at winning this race. You're sitting in an ideal position where you can get a run off the corner and you have a shot. Probably at second, maybe even for the win. But you don't quite know if you got enough of the car or can get enough of a run to get it done. Adam Crane, though, also looking to try to see if he can jump ahead. He's going to probably want to be inside that top 3 ideally before the white flag.
Crane started back in 15th. He's up to 4th. He will restart 4th in line with Christopher behind him, then Henry Bennett, Malechka, Adam Dock, Musselman, and Burton the rest of the top 10. Out front, though, Tanner Watkins. He's never won an Indy 500 in the Indy Elite Series. The only driver that had in this field, again, I mentioned it several times today, that was Andrew Kinsella, but he's crashed and back in 20th place. Riley Thompson has never won a race in this series. And I am told that Riley Thompson is running the fixed setup for Indianapolis.
Really?
Wow.
Wow, I'm surprised by that.
I mean, that's pretty legendary. I mean,
that's hilarious.
That's pretty good.
We talk about how many hours these guys must have spent, tweaking, tuning their setup, especially for qualifying. And he just comes in here with a fixed setup. Well, I'm sure he spent time definitely trying to work it and make it work. These guys you have in-car adjustments to work with, to tune it. But you do need to have a decent base going in. I mean, I guess it was decent enough because he's running a third.
Can we just say that really speaks volumes about the new iRacing setups? Because if they're keeping up with the ones that these guys spend hours building, that's pretty phenomenal. All right, it's going to be a 5-lap run to the end. If the caution comes out, the race will be likely over. We might get a 1-lap sprint, but it's time to go racing 5 more laps around Indianapolis. For the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317, Tanner Watkins is in command. Green flag is back in the air. Stouffer out of line on Adam Crane, that's for 4th.
Yeah, this is where you want to try to gain those restarts, gain as many spots as you can. Stouffer just a little bit offset, not quite alongside Crane as he's trying to make that move for 4th place.
Door gets slammed, Crane hangs on. Up front, Andreas Ike with a big run. Gonna take it. Here he goes for the top spot.
That's exactly what we saw on the last run. Watkins is gonna slip back in his 2nd place. Will we see him actually make that run? We saw him slingshot back up in front, and then that was right before the caution came out.
Tanner Watkins
gonna stay in 2nd.
Size them up 4 laps to go. The race will be over if the caution flag flies. Here comes Watkins. 4 laps to go.
The strategy looks like it's going to be just to try to slingshot back and forth.
What can Riley Thompson do, if anything?
Honestly, I'm kind of out of ideas for him. I think he's also going to have to hope that these guys try to get side by side because he's a little bit far back at the moment. Not sure if he's going to be able to close it back up. These guys have run, well, the tires have lasted quite a bit. He's run a decent amount on them this run. So he's see if he can close back up and try to make himself present for 3rd.
Andreas Ike had to lift big time out of turn 4. He understeered massively. Now with 3 laps to go, look at Riley Thompson with a run. Ike's going to go to driver's right. Watkins goes to cover. I like how strong that 24 car looks, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Also of note too, track schools has been all day, 109 degrees on the track, so it's much grip as they're probably going to have the entire race.
Watkins looking so strong out front. Andreas Eich trying to close that gap up. He's going to close it, but he's not there to get overlap just yet. But he could be timing this right now and experimenting with how big of a run he can get. How long do you have to wait? How much of a run do you have to build? And how far back do you have to lay back?
Yeah, I think that's probably what might be the thing he's going to settle on. You only have 2 more times to try this before you get the checkered flags. He's going to try here, going to get a run, going to look up the inside, wasn't able to get it done, and it looks like he's going to stick in it. He's going to clear him by the time he gets turn 1.
So now if Watkins slides on back coming to the white, that's going to leave Andreas Eich in a position to do it on the final lap, but that's anticipating Watkins doing exactly what Eich just did. So maybe Watkins is going to sit here and try to make the move on the last lap himself. Here he comes.
He's got a big run. He's going to go for it to the inside of 3.
I like this. Watkins is not trying to play some crazy strategy. He's just going for the win, and he's in command. Goes to the top spot again. Eich to second. Riley Thompson waiting in 3rd place. Eich sizing up that outside groove, though, this time through. It's 2.5 miles left around the Brickyard. White flag in the Indianapolis 500, presented by the Catalyst 317. Watkins on the outside, Eich to the inside.
To see that worked well in Watkins' favor. He was clear of Eich by 15 thousandths of a second.
Here we go. Last time down the back straight. Eich leads the way. Watkins is going to build a run. Can Eich defend from it? I don't think so. Here comes Watkins. He's going to go to the right.
Oh, he's going to go. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I haven't seen him try to go to the outside. Let's see if he can work side by side in 3 and 4.
Coming back to the checkered flag. 500 miles is almost complete here at Indianapolis. Eich on the inside lane. Watkins on the outside. Drag race back to the checkers. Side by side to the line. Eich, Watkins, Tanner Watkins just is going to edge out. Does he get it?
Wow, by 1,000th of a second.
Tanner Watkins wins the Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317 by 1,000th of a second.
Whew.
Man, he
we
did
don't
that.
have zeros on the scoreboard to show it.
He did that perfectly. We will go back and show you in replays how close that was. That was too close to call. 1,000th of a second. Tanner Watkins gets his first victory on the season, his first ever Indy Elite Series Indy 500. And how perfect was that? He went to the outside, Finn, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. It was not.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. I thought that might have been a bad call, but it worked out barely, but it worked out.
And celebration and elation. All the friends and competitors coming up to celebrate with Tanner. And what a feeling it is. And I don't care if it's in the virtual environment or the real world. Just visiting Indianapolis is impactful enough. To actually win here is something else entirely. And he's going to celebrate with a victory lap here, Finian.
Yeah, and absolutely earned this. Just again, this all goes back to that strategy call to get that car up in front. Otherwise, I don't think he would have had much of a chance. He was running midfield for most of the race, put that car up in front, realized how important the track position is, and pretty much never looked back ever since he went inside the top 3.
Yeah, again, he started back in 28th. He only led 21 laps, which is just about 10% of the race. I am just so impressed with his ability. And you know what? When we were 2 laps to go, he wasn't playing games. He wasn't trying to do any sort of fancy slingshot maneuver. He just went and tried to lead the race. And there was no thought process behind waiting. He just went for it, and it paid off in a big, big way. And Tanner, I'm sure, is soaking this in. Again, we're going to go back and look at it before we talk to anybody. And we'll go over your full results. But Tanner Watkins, we're going to give him his time to celebrate this. This is a big deal. No fuel mileage, no funny business, just a winner at Indianapolis. He's going to pull it on in, no burnout. Let's go back and have a look at how that all came to be. It'll take me a minute to get back there. But man, that was a heck of a drive. Tanner coming back to the stripe. Was really in position. They went so high in 3 and 4 that as they came out of the final corner here, he just sets him up so well. Jukes back to the right. And right at the line. We're going to look at this in slow motion, otherwise you won't be able to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough at the line. I'm amazed there is even a gap. It looks like almost a tie at the line.
Yeah, again, I have to go back and look at this even tighter. I mean, I'm not even sure that we have an angle that can show how close this really is, even if I go to the start-finish line. That is unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, that is an inch, maybe two.
It's by a fraction. Usually you hear, well, he won by a nose cone. He won by a fraction of a nose cone.
I mean, that is fantastic stuff. Let's go back and see how this all formulated from Tanner Watkins onward.
We'll start with this run to the outside lane. A bit unorthodox, and I think that threw a big wrench into things. Thought he was going to stay behind, and then finally came out, got the run.
And from on board, Riley Thompson. Pretty spectacular stuff. And one more time as they came out of turn 4, and Ike, you got to feel for Ike. I mean, the amount of effort that he put in to almost win this race. I mean, I feel my heart goes out to him because he's been so close so many times. We've got Tanner Watkins joining us now. Tanner, congratulations. 1,000th of a second. You're a winner in the Indianapolis 500 here for the Indy Elite Series. Take us through your thoughts, your emotions, and the last lap of that race. It was probably all a blur.
Yeah. First and foremost, just want to say thanks to Jason Brophy, Phil Kraus, Austin Espity, Andrew Wood, Dakota, Liam, I think, helped out too. These guys do a great job with setups in general, but Indy setups in particular. So I'm really lucky to be on this particular team. At the end, I've been here so many times with a late race shootout or just having a chance here at the end, and those that know my history know that I've had it lost a lot of different ways. So, I was just happy to be in that position. I had the end of the line penalty from the disaster at Richmond last week. I felt awful all race. I haven't felt good all day today, but just kind of hung around the first half of the race and just wanted to have a chance. And we tried playing a little strategy, and that was starting to work out, and it did get us some track position. But then the late yellows came, and it was just kind of heads up racing from there. So I was really thankful to have Andreas there. I'm so happy that it was him and I racing that out like that, because he's so consistent, and I feel bad that he had to lose by that slim margin, because he ran a great race as well, and has done a great job throughout this entire season. So props to Andreas. He gave me a ton of room when it was necessary, and he's a world-class racer. So I'm happy. I'm fortunate that it came together this way, and I'd like to think I've learned a little bit from prior failures.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. That was a spectacular drive, Tanner, and I was just so impressed by your willingness to go make passes and not wait for some opportunity. You just went out there and took it. Coming to 2 laps ago, you just passed Andreas Ike. I feel like a lot of other drivers would have just sat there and waited for a better opportunity. Take me through that with 2 laps ago, what you were thinking in making that pass. Did you want to be in the race lead, or did you want to be second?
No, I mean, that's a good point. Last year in the Broadcast 500, I was erring more on the side of I didn't mind if I got past there on the last lap, because I figured I could make the pass happen, coming out of turn 4, and as it were, that didn't happen. So with this particular instance, as long as him and I weren't being dangerous, I wanted to be in the lead, because the next flag was going to end it, green or checker yellow. So I was trying to just, put myself in the best position, because I figured, if I was coming out of turn 2 on the last lap and I was behind him, I could probably get around him going down the back stretch. But I wasn't as confident in my opportunities coming out of turn 4 if I was following him through turns 3 and 4 on that last lap. So I'm a little surprised that I was able to get enough on him and inch my way by. But I was able to just get just enough of a toe out of turn 4 to make it happen. But yeah, just wanted to be in front as soon as possible and do it respectfully if I could.
Well, Tanner, looking at your pass again on the back straightaway, coming to 2 to go. A spectacular drive. I'm sure it'll soak in a little bit later, but thanks for talking to us. Congratulations and enjoy this one. And we'll see you at Road America in June.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. You do a fantastic job with this series, and Joe does a great job as well on the admin team. It's an honor to get to race this race. I didn't know if it was even going to happen because we had some real life obligations come into play, but yeah, just really thankful, and yeah, we'll see what we can do the rest of the season.
Thanks so much, Tanner. Congratulations again. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, fellas.
Moving on now to Riley Thompson, who came home in 3rd place, about a 10th back. Riley, you got a great view of everything out your windscreen. Take us through the last couple of laps. What'd you have for those front runners, if anything?
First off, I don't think I had anything with him actually having time to set up. I think that was a big part of it, but I really got to thank the guys back at iRacing, you know. Put a lot of work into the setup. I don't know how much it was, but I bet it was countless hours. I think I should have set up for turn 3 a little bit better instead of turn 4, but that whole lap I was just a little bit off, and just kind of praying that I'd wreck each other. I knew it wouldn't between it being Andreas and Tanner, but yeah, it was actually a really good thing to watch, and I thought Andreas had it till the end.
Well, Riley, it was a really solid race. We have a handful of road courses coming up, which I know are your bread and butter. Road America, is that a race that you feel like you can go out there and win?
I think it should be, especially there should be a Craig Sebstop set for it that's actually got more time into it. I think that'll be a really fun race. Road America is one of the road courses that I tend to struggle at more, but maybe I'll be able to get these tires sorted on road courses and something can come from that.
Riley, thanks for your time. Congratulations, 3rd place. We'll see you at Road America in a couple weeks. What a legend Riley Thompson is. I don't know how many hours went into that setup. I bet it was a lot, he said at the end of that. Finian, a fantastic race. Riley Thompson 3rd, Andreas Ike 2nd, but Tanner Watkins took it home. That was spectacular.
I honestly think it would have been absolutely hilarious if Riley Thompson won the race with an iRacing fixed setup. That would have been hilarious to everyone else that put in work for a custom setup. But yeah, it's a solid job for him. It sucks, unfortunately, for Andreas. Like, he's going to come up just short. And by short, 1,000th of a second short. It's going to be a bit of a tough pill to swallow, but it's still a fantastic run nonetheless. He's also going to be, if not for just finishing second, he's going to have a massive points haul because a lot of his other competitors did not do as well. So he'd be looking to that, extending his points lead from some of the other drivers. And then Tanner Watkins is a great drive, absolutely earned it. Great calls and strategy, and just driving on the racetrack too. Excellent job, absolutely earned the win.
Tanner Watkins finished 500 miles, 1,000th of a second quicker than anybody else, and he is your victor in the 2021 Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. I'm Kyle Heyer with Finian DeCuna. Thanks for watching the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series. We'll see you in June, on June 15th, for the National Park of Speed, Road America.